There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse.
My apologies,
at the bro
guys.
hug than one
Second
David
time in
Moulton.
broadcast history. But anyway, we'll deal with that later.
2019, I found my bro
here we go.
hug.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, as we begin this first full week of May in 2020? Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We are streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Mark, top of the morning to you. How are you?
Morning, David. I'm very well.
How'd the birthday weekend go? Your daughter turned 6 on Saturday. Obviously, these are different times. So, how did that go?
Well, I'll tell the truth because that's what I always do, and I might tick off a couple of people by it. But the birthday was sensational.
Guys, please stand by. The macro didn't fire. I'm so sorry. Please stand by.
I'm going to stand by, but I'm going to keep talking because we're on. Well, no one's watching. Well, hey, Albar, we're not on the air yet, so we just got on, but then we got knocked off. So, or I don't know. I don't effing know.
All right, let's try this.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
All right, guys, this will work this time, I promise. The macro didn't fire. I got it this time.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Funny.
Now,
I'd
the
flip
best
you
local
off,
sports
Albert,
show
but I'm not
this
doing
town
that
has
in this
ever
act.
heard.
But that's funny.
Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this first full week of May in 2020? Thanks so much for being with us.
You know we're running a commercial right now.
Yeah. What is going on? Are we on the air?
Ian, are we on the air or are we running a commercial?
One way to
Well,
wake up
now
in
the
morning.
Open started again. This is great.
This is spectacular.
I'm so sorry, guys. I can't get the
That's it.
macro to fire.
Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great.
This
for you,
should be
because
it
there
now,
is nobody
playing
worse
live. It's been
at the
satellite
bro
up
hug
till
than
now.
one David Moulton.
And
Whatever.
Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's
I just hope
Fox
the Open
Sports
keeps
Radio.
running on the air.
All guests
That
appear
would
on
be the
Goldberg
best part.
Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Albert, what I want you to understand, because we got one person. Whoop. Now it's gone.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
John Lynch, the GM of the Niners, comes out and says,
Albert, what I was gonna tell you is, if you take this back,
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's wrong. I can't get it to do it. Please stand by.
Well, we are. Well, see, we're on other
my
mediums,
God.
so I got to talk to them.
Ian, Mark's been on the air for 2 minutes. That's what I'm being told.
Dan Patrick Show.
So I'm on the air?
Yep.
Which
No,
means
you
you're on
guys
the
aren't
air.
on the air. You're not on.
Well, my wife's listening to us.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
This is great.
I'm not talking.
Yep, that's it.
I am.
Miller.
So, Albert,
I take full responsibility, guys.
Ian, I'm
I don't know
aware
what
you
I
take
did
full
wrong here.
responsibility.
My
Don't
fault.
worry about it.
I
Just
screwed
take your
up.
time.
I don't know.
And get it right.
But Albert here on Twitch, I'm just talking to you because there's a time.
Sports Radio.
Yes,
All
that-
guests
yes,
appear on the
we are
Goldberg
on
Noon
now.
Abraham
I've got the
hotline.
macro to fire. I've confirmed it. You should be live when it finishes playing now.
It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, The best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller.
You're live now.
You gonna really say it again?
Well, I've done it 3 other times.
Let her rip one
Might as
more.
well.
What the hell? I'll do it with you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
How the heck are you?
Yeah. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming, and for those of you that have been listening for the few minutes, you've already heard this. You know the deal. FoxSportsFM.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and Twitch TV, which is where we were broadcasting first today. Mark's having an ongoing conversation with Albert, right?
Yeah. Why he
Okay,
just
good.
he
yeah,
just
you might as well continue it.
right. He said, "No worries, this is the new normal." And I said, "You know,
Yes.
in Act 1, I'd have flipped you off for a comment like that. Now I'm just laughing. I nearly flipped him off on camera before we started. I said, nah.
I will say it's a good thing that Miller and Moulton this morning abided by the cardinal rule of broadcasting. You never curse when you are near a microphone, because obviously by us getting on the air a little bit late and then having some technical difficulties as we were trying to get on the air. All right. Well, we're off to an interesting start on this first week of May. And Mark, how the heck are you?
Really good. I am. You know, whenever we don't get on the air at 6 a.m., there's, always
panic.
Panic.
There's panic from my wife.
Right.
My wife came running into the room. What's wrong? I go, well, we're going to be on by about 6:15. We've got a few things going on. You know, I got 4 texts. All right. I had to make sure I fired off one to my mother before I got one from her, because she immediately thinks, just like everybody on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, that as soon as we're not on at 6:01:30, that we've been fired.
Yes.
Right.
And that could still happen. We never
Sure.
know. I mean,
absolutely. The week is young.
it's young.
Right.
So,
It's
I mean,
just-
the possibilities are endless of what could happen by Friday.
But for the time being, it's still Miller and Moulton, and thanks so much for being with us. Did you have a big weekend? I mean, you know, when there are momentous dates on the calendar, they are celebrated differently nowadays. Your daughter turned 6 on Saturday. How does a 6-year-old birthday go during the coronavirus?
Well, it was for her, it turned out to be fantastic. And I may tick off a couple of people with what happened, but I'm done caring anymore about things like that, because we're all going to have to go forward and adjust to whatever it is we do and be accepting of others, I think. And I've tried to say that. But so we had some neighbors come down with their twins, and we did a driveway party. No one in the house. We got the table, we got the chairs all apart. I made some hot dogs, and a couple of people were going to do drive-bys. And, well, the drive-by, they stopped, and they got out, and I offered a beer. And
Okay,
next
there we go.
next thing you know,
Right?
we've got 5 adults and 5 kids, because I had a set of twins, a brother and a sister, and my daughter.
In the driveway area?
Yeah, they're running
the
around.
street?
The kids are running around. They're everywhere.
Okay.
And the daughter got a new little gymnastics thing from my mother, so they're doing flips and turns and all this kind of stuff.
All right.
So then another set of friends and their parents came over, another set of
Wow.
twins.
We got a full house now.
And when the one boy, Evan, and we've been friends with his parents now for a while.
Is
but
this the boyfriend?
This is the boyfriend.
This is the long-standing boyfriend.
They have been going, they went to daycare from like 6 months old on with one another.
Right.
And so he looked at me, and his sister's a little bit older, and she's a really bright kid. And she says, if you ask Mom to go in the pool in your clothes, she's probably going to say no. But if you go in, I don't think she'll get mad at you.
There you go.
And I looked Evan dead in the eye. I said, Evan, it is far easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
You didn't tell a 6-year-old that.
Oh, yeah, he turned around and ran, jumping, leaping into the pool.
That's pretty early to learn that life lesson.
Well,
I mean, some of us don't learn it till our mid-30s. You taught that to Evan at 6.
it's a big birthday for everybody. And he's 5. His birthday's later in the week.
Oh, well, heck.
So, but, I mean, I really
So,
want...
hold on. Fully dressed?
Shorts and a T-shirt. He lost the
okay.
T-shirt. Shirt went off, and he was,
Ran through the house.
No, we were in the backyard at that point. He was only
okay.
12 steps from the pool. It didn't take long to get there.
Gotcha.
And so then it was on. And then the parents kind of made their way to the backyard and outside. No one was in the house. Were we 6 feet apart? Nah, close. But my daughter had a terrific time. They stayed till about 8:30, and my daughter was literally out by the time they left and slept until about 8 o'clock, which never happened. So,
right.
And then didn't want to do anything yesterday. How many
Fantastic.
times, she played a little bit, but then she's like, you want to watch a movie? Yeah, I do want to watch a movie. We all do.
All right.
We all do. So, no, it was a great
weekend.
birthday. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking. How about you? I did see that it looks like, if social media is correct, you left the abode this weekend.
Yes. Yesterday, it took a subpoena, and on top of that, it took some cajoling, but was able to get the wife out of the house. We drove to downtown Fort Myers, which is where her mom lives, and I have been plotting for a month in which I have said, listen, across the street from her place is a beautiful shade tree and a bench in which you could sit at one end, your mom could sit at the other. Mom had a better idea. She goes, well, how about if I bring a chair? You two sit on opposite ends of the bench, and I'll sit across from you, 6, 8, 10 feet away, underneath the shade tree, and we'll just sit in our chairs. So we picked up some food, and we spent a lovely hour together. All right, Mark, an hour, a full hour. I was able to get my wife out of the house, outside. All right, now, granted, she looks like she was part of the Mexican drug cartel on Ozark. I mean, she's got a full face mask, a shield, and she had her sunglasses on. You could not see a centimeter of her face. I mean, she is ready to rob every bank that wants to be open today. All right. If there's a bank robbery today, my wife will be the number one suspect based on stuff that has been thrown out there on social media yesterday. All right. If anyone's thinking of robbing a bank, find a picture of how my wife dressed yesterday. All right. And that is how you go about it. You go about it with a big bandana, one of those that you get at a vet, Mark. You know, the bandanas they put around the dogs.
Yep.
All right. And so sometimes, they can cover a lot of real estate there because dogs are all of different sizes. One of the vet bandanas and the big Hollywood model sunglasses. That's how my wife rolled.
Well, good for her. She got to see Mom. I know that's important. Next weekend's Mother's Day, and there are a lot of moms who are lonely and miss their children. So this week's about Mom. Call her a couple times and figure out a way to see her on Sunday if you can. We, as David said, got started a little late. The first hour is going to be a little bit of a mess this morning. The good news is there really are not any sports played, so it makes the starting five somewhat necessary.
Wait, there's not any sports played? Just being a little silly, Mark. Just being a little silly.
So,
did you watch The Last Dance last night?
No, I watched Billions.
The
wife and I watched The Last Dance together, so we tape it because we can't get through both. We'll watch one tonight, one tomorrow, and then move the next week. But she went to bed before it started, and I was all in on the season premiere of Billions. That
season
is
4, right?
Yeah.
Billions?
I'd been watching most of season 3 during the day, and I must say, if you're a fan of the show, I only have to say 2 words: Chicken Bill. I have not laughed that hard. And I've seen the episode before. And my daughter walked in from outside to go, "What is so funny, Dad?" And I'm like, I can't even bother to tell you at this point.
Yeah. And I have to turn the show off now. So thanks for coming back in.
Yep. Them's the breaks. There is live sports going on in Southwest, competitive live sports going on in Southwest Florida today.
Really?
Yes.
Do tell.
The West Florida Golf Tour is going on, and they are having an event at the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota. Now, I have 2 friends that are playing in it. It's a best ball tournament.
Are they like putting down the hallway? I mean,
No. The
how are they doing?
The Ritz-Carlton course in Sarasota.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay.
But
was
I
thinking
say
the
this
hotel.
not because of Johnny McDonald and Matt Hutchins, who I wish well for today, but to tell you the type of, lull we've had in this event. I didn't recognize a lot of names, but Daniel Chopra is playing with, and you'll have to help me with his last name, David. What's Jazz's last name? You know that Jazz Jenna Watnand or whatever his name is. He's on like 39th in the world.
Huh.
But Daniel Chopra and Jazz Jan Watnand, something like that, are playing in this, and they're both tour players.
Right. You could tell how desperate they are to,
right,
start getting back in the swing of things.
So
I
would expect they should do pretty well in this today. That would be my guess. But the West Florida Spring Classic is today. They begin teeing off 1 hour from now.
Well, the PGA Tour is scheduled to resume the second week of June. So this is interesting. And the USGA has not canceled both the U.S. Men's Amateur and the U.S. Women's Amateur yet, even though they're both scheduled for August. And we've talked about this before. USGA events are qualifying events. And so obviously, in order to have those two amateur tournaments at some point here soon, Mark, they're going to have to start having qualifiers. So this is a good sign, at least in terms of golf, that golf is thinking, hey, we can move forward. We can do this. And you would think of all the sports, and we've said it from the beginning, you would think of all the sports, no matter when was going to be, that would be the sport that would be at the top of the list to give it a shot.
So live sports in Southwest Florida going on. Your point on the AMs, because they have canceled damn near every other event that the USGA holds. A couple of four balls event, junior AMs. A lot of different USGA sanctioned events have already been canceled, but not the men's and women's AMs. Just one of the things to pay attention to. I think they had the last virtual races. I think that wrapped up for NASCAR because now they're going to start racing here in a couple of weeks, so they'll start turning things towards real automobiles.
Yes, because 2 weeks from yesterday, the 17th at Darlington, is when NASCAR will be back at it. And NASCAR normally doesn't race on Mother's Day anyway, so don't know if they're going to have some kind of something on Saturday of this week, but it looks as if they're just going to take the week off and they're all going to gear up. What I do find interesting, Mark, is that no one will have raced a lap of any kind before they start up. I mean, it is the equivalent of, no practice round for when the PGA Tour in a month gets together in Fort Worth to play the Colonial. I mean, not even a practice run. These guys the cars are coming off the hauler. They're going to be lined up based on this season's points. And the first laps that are run will be, the couple of warm-up laps before the race starts.
David,
That's it.
You know I'm not a car guy, and I've started watching more. And it's why when we had the interview on Friday, I'm fascinated by this of who is this now more on? The driver or the crew? And I would think that the driver now is in a totally different world where he is far more responsible for his car in this race than ever before. Does that make sense?
Mark, this seems to me like, the first time you go to the range when you live in places where the weather is cold, and the first time you go to the range, you're thinking, oh, this is great. And what do? You might not even hit the big sticks when you're at the range. You may just go and hit that medium bucket, and it may all be irons. I really think like the first 30 laps of the race, when they race, I think they're all just going to follow the leader. They're going to be like, okay, is wedges, and then, all right, is 7 irons, and then, maybe all of a sudden right before the first pit stop, they'll be like, okay, time to take out the driver. Now I feel as if, I'm warmed up enough now, I might get this thing in play.
But isn't it all, I mean, and I respect your analogy, but it didn't necessarily answer my question because I don't know. Is this on the driver or is this on the crew chief? Who has more weight on their shoulders for these races? Because that to me is fascinating.
I think the driver.
Okay.
That was my point, that the driver is going to, I think, just have to go very slowly in the opening laps of the race. And of all the tracks to open up on the Lady in Black it does show, for years we have mocked NASCAR for various things. One of them, though, was that we thought they didn't have a sense of humor. I got to be honest. If I'm a driver on the series and of all the tracks to start off at, you're going to start off at Darlington. I mean, we can put the sucker into the wall if we've been racing all year. And now, after having 10 weeks off, you're going to put us here. I think NASCAR has shown at the end of the day they do have a sense of humor. It'd be kind of like if the PGA Tour started with the 17th at TBC.
Which, by the way, if you're going to go to TPC and play it, make sure you check, because they're shutting that hole down for 2 months. And it would really be disappointing if they sent you over to the 10th at one of their other courses to play what you thought was going to be the 17th. Miller and Moulton, we will juggle a starting 5 on the other side. We'll get through the first hour. We got off a little late, and, well, it happens. So we'll regroup. We got through it without a rant, at least by either David or I. Ian had a slight one on his own, but that's to be expected. Things were not firing correctly. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for joining us and listening to Miller and Moulton on Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at foxsportsfm.com. And to those of you watching on YouTube and Twitch, good morning.
We are Fox Sports.
You're clear.
Even in my 80s, every dive is exciting and enjoyable. When I
Hi,
developed
Seth.
cataracts years ago, I couldn't see well underwater. You can have the best gear and know the best
Doing
dives.
hits all
If
it
your
goes.
eyes aren't the best,
It goes.
it's
Daughter
just
turned
not
6
the
on
same.
Saturday.
And Dr. Scheibel knows that.
Knowing how much Jimbo cares.
I don't think
about
you'd be really
diving,
happy with what went out of my house because social distancing
It's
was
great
kind
to know that we got eye
of iffy.
doctors in our area that care just as much about me as I care about being in the water.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As
We had a
run around
driveway
in trucks
party,
cars
and the
play
kids
golf
ended
and
up all
go
going in the
fishing and
pool.
Go to work and do the things we like to
We
do.
were set
are
up
spreading
6
the
feet
virus.
apart.
The virus can only
Tough
move
to do with
us.
5 and
Over
6-year-olds.
65, diabetes, COPD. All these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
If you could hear a DQ treat, what would it sound like? A Blizzard treat sounds like family board game night. A Sunday sounds like an indoor movie marathon. And a Fudge and Crunch cake sounds like a birthday wish.
Don't need to worry about me, Seth. I'm good.
Ah, the sweet sound of treats. Use takeout or visit the DQ
My wife said to
drive-thru
work
for all
every
your
day
favorites.
during this, Seth.
Thank you for making
I don't know
us
what
part
to
of
mean.
your
She's gone to
together.
work
How much
every
money
day
would you
for
like to
7
save
weeks.
just by doing something you're already doing? How about 40%? With Allstate, safe drivers can save 40%.
No,
just
David
by
and I
doing
are very
something
different
they're
here
already
because,
doing. Driving
well,
safe.
he's not allowed out of the house
That's right,
anymore.
40% just by
Except
driving
unless to
safe.
get food.
Visit Allstate.com.
1 hour walk
Call a
every
local
day.
agent
A
for
walk,
quote
a
today.
walk and a food
See
run.
just
Yep,
how much
that's
you
it.
can save when you drive
Get an
safe
hour
with
and
Allstate.
15 minutes a
Not
day.
available in every state. Savings vary and based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company.
what about him?
Northbrook, Illinois.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor. The Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your
Yeah,
pool.
I knew that.
It
Okay,
costs
that.
less to
You,
run than
yeah, you
gas
told
heaters.
us that.
You won't have
But he's got
panels on your
pre-existing.
roof.
When you said that, I got
Special
nervous that
pricing,
something else
rebates,
happened.
Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company. For over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service.
Yeah,
repairs,
and if that's the case,
$39
yeah,
diagnostic
and you're
call.
right, Seth.
That's
If you're pre-existing, you shouldn't go out.
4239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
You fly through this, David, and try to get out by 47.
On your Amazon Alexa.
Yep.
Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Yeah,
Play
Seth,
Fox
I know
Sports
it's my
FM
favorite.
on
Don't worry,
TuneIn.
he likes to type stuff.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as
So,
low as
Seth, do you follow Casio on Twitter? Or have you blocked him? Because during this, if you think what I did's bad, you should just see this idiot.
With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor to offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
By the way, the Kiss Cam, 46%.
Is DR Martineau.
Owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest
Well, no,
Florida.
but Seth, have you seen him on Twitter? I mean, give me beaches or give me death.
For a free
Literally wrote it. Give us our beaches or give us death. Bra.
1441.
License number CCC 132699.
John's overlooked the fact that 7,000 people have died in the last 48 hours.
Is DR Martineau.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No.
You're live.
It's Miller and Moulton.
19 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming, foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Sign up. They're free. Hot steaming deal. Get to see us, interact with us during the commercial breaks.
Even chat with Seth Everett, because when he's up, he turns our channel on. He usually will ghost host our channel and then chat with the folks in the chat room for a little bit, or the two of us, and always asking David to talk, not type, which is my favorite part of the morning. You like to text.
I do. I don't like to exclude others, but yeah. I mean, also, sometimes my technology is not working at the same rate of speed as your guys.
Gotcha.
So I like to find out early on whether or not I'm up to speed.
We had a poll question over the weekend. Which of the sports traditions should disappear with the coronavirus? The wave, the high five, white outs or any color outs, and the kiss cam. And the kiss cam was the overwhelming winner. It is 46% of the vote want the kiss cam to disappear.
Although I did ask all of our listeners to ask their female significant others that question and see what the response was, because I'm guessing that the women are far more liking of the kiss cam than the men.
But today, because it is May the 4th, and Seth, while you're there, Mr. Star Wars over there, Mr. Disney Plus, May the 4th be with you. But it's also a significant day in Florida because we're reopening. Kinda. Outdoor restaurants can open 25% inside, and that leads us to today's poll question. You going out to dinner tonight?
Or this week?
Are you going out to dinner? I mean, because, David, first off, this was your want. I mean, you want sports with it, but this was you want to be out amongst, as you say, the peeps.
Yes. Now, this to me is not, doesn't fit my criteria. All right, because they're going to, if we go inside, they're only going to allow 25% of what normal capacity and this, that, and the other thing. So you're not going to be sitting next to anybody unless you're going to dinner with someone. But, it's a start. And how many of you will take Florida up on it? How many of you will go to a restaurant this week? Because obviously it's Monday. I'm not expecting you to go today or tomorrow, although tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo. But just by the weekend, how many of you will go to a restaurant now that you can this week? That's our poll question.
And, your joint, your place where you go for quesadillas at least twice a week in a normal lifetime has a big outdoor deck.
Yes.
And that is not the 25%. That is just simply 6 feet. So the Shoeless Joes of the world, any outdoor patio. Mm-hmm. Since you mentioned Cinco de Mayo, Tacos and Tequila, I believe they're opening back up just down the road. That sounds like my dinner plans for tomorrow. But are you going out to a restaurant this week?
Right.
Because during the birthday and talking to people, my one friend goes, I can't wait. I will go out to dinner every night this week. I want to go to a restaurant. Had it. I'm like, okay, you're in.
So a yay or nay poll question. Will you, now that you can, will you head out to a restaurant this week? Yes or no? That's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, millerandmoulton.com. 15 minutes before the hour. How about we take a quick break and then come back with part 2 of the starting 5? How about that?
Look at that. Huh? Hey,
look at that.
Mixing it up this morning.
That's right. Changing on the fly, Mark. A couple of hockey guys here. Thought you'd appreciate that. All right, we went from the fourth lines was just out on the ice, Mark. They did a little mucking, they did a little grinding, they got the puck back for us.
Yep. Dumped it deep and got to the bench.
Right. And now we're putting Ovechkin and company out on the line when we come back. Miller and Moulton, the starting 5 is next on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You're clear.
Marketplace is sponsored by Kronos, helping businesses attract, retain, and engage employees through cloud-based human capital management. Kronos.com. Kronos, workforce innovation that works.
Hey guys, Frank here for Center for Men's Health, where the physicians and staff want you to know that C4MH.com is open and is going to remain open throughout this ordeal.
5 texts from one guy.
Continues to disinfect daily with microbiome.
I'm assuming technical difficulties, not termination. First text.
C4MH.com now text your
there we go. Then I get, damn, I heard you guys talking during the intro that time. It's like the studio came down with the virus.
Now they've stepped it up to the next level.
Your producer's an idiot.
Don't worry about it. It's over. No, settle down. Who gives a shit? It's 6 in the morning. No one's listening.
It's sports radio and Market 59. It's really not a big deal.
Well, it is to me.
It's really not. Okay, we're getting paid. We're not getting paid. That's optional for the next few months.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Just lighten up, Ian. No one's listening between 6 and 7 o'clock. It is not the end of the world, man.
No matter where you're voting.
Apparently, I talked to Cassie over the weekend, and I mean, they did a deep dive into the books, and no one in this market is turning a radio on before 7:15, basically. Not offending the 15 of you here in Twitch, and we thank every one of you. But Ian, it's not 10 minutes at 6 to 6:10. It's not world ending. It just isn't.
$99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com.
Got my FSW shirt on today, Mark.
You own a home with
Yucatan Masters, my second club.
Port Charlotte and Marco Island. Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage
about right.
from Hurricane Irma. It's not visible.
Miller and Moulton
from the
fans says, according to listener logic, you gentlemen were fired and rehired 6 times by 6:20.
But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof.
Too.
Williamson Brothers Roofing. We deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson
Mark,
Brothers
you want to
Roofing
explain the
specializes in
Yucatan
the claims
Masters to
process.
Johnny Mac?
We have experts standing by.
The Yucatan Masters is part of the Mexican mini tour. You'd have to.
We've got our
if
good friend Tim
you
Meister,
are a
owner of
golf
the
fan,
Floormeisters
I
in Naples
suggest
on the
you
phone.
check out
We're
Club
talking
Pro
about
Guy
their
on
huge
Twitter.
selection and great pricing on Cortec flooring. Tim?
But the Yucatan Masters is well. First off, this T-shirt's a collector's item because Club Pro Guy was sued by the Masters because of this shirt.
Threatened with it and backed down quickly.
And he tried to take him on for about a week and was pretty funny with the press conferences, and the Masters weren't effing around. But the T-shirt disappeared from the website. I do think now you can get a Yucatan Country Club shirt, but not a Yucatan Masters.
Now, is it a real event?
No.
Or was he just made, right, he was just having fun?
Yep.
Right. It's a made-up event on a made-up tour.
Correct.
By Club Pro Guy.
Correct.
Or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
By the way, remember how he was dressed there for a while when he would do those pressers?
Always.
That's how my wife looked.
I saw the picture.
Yeah.
And then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors. My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on the Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Ten minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. That's 479-5551, 479-5551. Our poll question, it's already up. That's pretty good for us. First hour of the week. We got a poll question up. Governor DeSantis has opened up the state to some degree beginning today. One of the things you can do is go to a restaurant. So we ask you this week, are you going to go to a restaurant? Yay or nay? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Without further ado, time for
The Starting Five. Five big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark, today is the day that teams have to make the decision as to whether or not they are picking up or declining the fifth-year option on their 2017 first-round draft picks. Teams have made the decision on 31 of the 32 first-round picks. Indianapolis later today has to decide on safety Malik Hooker. So far, Mark, 13 of the 31 2017 first-round draft picks have had their fifth-year options declined.
Including picks 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the draft.
Correct. 5 of the top 9 and 4 of the top 5. Only Myles Garrett, the number 1 pick of the 2017 draft in the top 5, has had his fifth-year option picked up. The Bears over the weekend said no on second overall pick in that draft, Mitchell Trubisky. Arizona late yesterday said no on 13th pick of that draft, linebacker Hassan Reddick. The NFL word came out over the weekend that the schedule, which we knew was going to be released sometime this week, it now reportedly, when it's released, is going to say, yeah, we're starting on time, Thursday, September 10th in Kansas City. And they're also going to release a preseason schedule when they do release the regular season schedule. Now, no guarantees it's a full preseason or how much of a preseason, but the NFL has said they will release a preseason schedule. Mark, something that we did not discuss is London. And the word is there will be no London in 2020, that the NFL will put that on hold. That the Jags and
that's a hit to the Jags financially.
Yes, financially.
I mean, they make more. They make enough money on their 2 trips to London that it offsets what they lose in Jacksonville. And I don't mean lose, but what they would if they were in a market that had the kind of support that most markets do. Jacksonville doesn't have the money as a lot of their markets. He makes that up in London.
Right. And so 2 Jags games in London a year. Also, the Dolphins were scheduled to have a home game this year in London. That's reportedly, when the schedule is released, that London this year is a no-go. Over the weekend, listen, I think Jerry Jones has had a great last 10 days. I thought the Cowboys had a terrific draft. They did the Baltimore Ravens approach. Hey, good players fall to us, we're going to take them. And for years now, ever since Romo retired, I mean, they've done the last 3 years with Dak Prescott crossing their fingers. And Dak, who was hurt at the end of last year, but they didn't have another option, really, so Dak had to play through it. Well, now they do have an option. Andy Dalton signs a 1-year, $3 million base deal with the Cowboys. Incentives could earn Dalton up to $7 million. What does this say? 2 things. A, Patriots and Jags, we're not interested in giving Andy Dalton a chance at the starting job. And B, remember, Dalton went to TCU. So this is a return, home, if you will, for the Red Rifle. Great pickup, I believe, for the Cowboys.
100%. 100%. It was the team that you had as the dark horse for Dalton And I mainly because David, for 5 years on this show, has been screaming at the Dallas Cowboys to get a backup quarterback.
Can't call yourself a Super Bowl contender and have that bad of a backup quarterback. I'm sorry. Speaking of quarterbacks, the Chiefs very quietly yesterday signed undrafted free agent Shea Patterson. Keep an eye on that. Kansas and Missouri announced they're going to play college football against one another coming up here in a few years. The rivalry, the fourth oldest in the history of the sport, dating back to 1891. But they stopped playing when Missouri left the Big 12 for the SEC. Beginning in 2025, they will do a 4-year home and home.
Nebraska, Oklahoma. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Although Pitt, West Virginia. All right, come on now.
I know.
Just, let's get with the program here,
Let's
boys.
go.
Give the fans the games they want.
Or they're not going to go anymore.
Exactly.
It's the one thing coming out of the coronavirus. You better start paying attention to the schedule because people are going to be far more choosy of when they attend events, and they're not going to go just to go anymore.
And finally, Mark, since I'm actually sticking to 5 for the starting 5, which has this week off to a hell of a start.
Whole question and 5 in the starting 5. We are on a roll, baby.
All in the first hour. Hello.
Not coming on until 6:20 ever again.
The NHL, this is something that we also have not taken into consideration. Somebody said to the Prime Minister of Canada, hey, are you going to hold the NHL players who are coming from the States and crossing the border to come play for their teams? Are you going to hold them to the same rules that you hold, say, U.S. citizens who are wanting to cross the border? Because you're forcing them to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. And the Prime Minister of Canada said, yeah. Now, I got to admit, Mark, that's probably not part of the plan that they're considering.
And that may be the only thing that this guy can do to get himself in trouble with his own population. Because let's be honest, the Leafs, the Oilers, I mean, they think they've got a shot here.
Right. Whether they do or not
it doesn't matter. They think they do, David, and it's hockey. You get in the tournament, you've got a shot.
And so that, Mark, is the starting 5.
5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
As here we are, 2 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You're clear.
Hey guys, Frank here for Center for Men's Health, where the physicians and staff want you to know that C4MH.com is open and is going to remain open throughout this ordeal. C4MH.com continues to disinfect daily with Microban 24. All patients and staff wear masks, and they will provide you with one to keep. C4MH.com now checks your oxygen level, as a low oxygen saturation level is an early symptom of coronavirus. At C4MH.com, it's always been about doing it safely, and now they've stepped it up to the next level. I've been a C4MH.com patient for years, and I know that safety was always their first concern, but I'm amazed at how they responded to this.
Well, that was a hell of an hour.
Just learned that C4MH.com has donated
Or 40 minutes.
1,000 gloves, dozens of N95 respirators, and hand sanitizers to hospitals. Their donations to hospitals just confirm that C4MH.com wants frontline health care to be safe as well. C4MH.com, the leaders in low T care.
Receiving. Over.
Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness. Kevin Durant's a better player.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Smart speaker.
Are we cheering for idiots? What's going on?
Sounds more like a dumb speaker, am I right?
You're an idiot. Nice job.
Get Southwest Florida sports talk delivered to your speaker.
This is easy.
Just say, Alexa,
Hello.
play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Finally, something worthwhile.
I didn't think it was going to be this easy.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless
What's going on in Rancho Cucamonga?
store or an online
We have
discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed
they're
qualified
protesting.
installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors.
Yeah, I'm with Juancho.
Yeah, my wife is still waiting to be quarantined. If you ask my wife what she wants to be quarantined more than anything on earth.
From Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 105.9 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports.
I think you're right, but why couldn't they do both? I mean, that's...
C4MH.com.
You're talking about Pitt. They play in the ACC. It's not like it's a real schedule. And West Virginia plays... I mean, West Virginia at least plays... The harder thing there is West Virginia has 9 conference games. See, I think that's more of a factor now with the conference that they're in because they're playing everybody. Chicken Bill and the hug, or the cuddler for Wags. I don't know if I laughed harder yesterday. I don't know if I've laughed that hard in a long time. I forgot how good Chicken Bill was. That is one of the better episodes. It's Chicken Town. No, Bill. It's Chicken Town. I want to know how they did a straight face doing that scene and stealing the Chinatown line.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
May have to get Showtime again.
They're giving it's free right now.
Well, there you go.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is no... They moved that Vice News show that I liked on HBO. Now it's on Showtime. They do a half hour a week, kind of like a 60-minute style, 3 stories.
Oh, really? Showtime now picked it up?
Yeah, but it's not nightly. I think it's just Sunday nights, and it's a little more in depth.
That's right.
It's up to you now. It's up to you. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's
You're
Miller
live.
and Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? A couple minutes past 7 o'clock. First full week of May in 2020. We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this and every show on the station at foxsportsfm.com. And Miller and Moulton broadcast live every single time on Twitch and YouTube on the Miller and Moulton channels. In fact, Mark has a special broadcast just about every day that he does with his daughter in the middle of the day. They do a little reading. All right. It is very well received on our Twitch channel.
Probably the most watched thing we have. I mean, to be honest
Yes,
with you, it's
outside
far
of the
better
draft.
than the
Right.
draft, right?
Right.
Got to get to a couple of texts because, David, as you well know, I love strolling up to the office on the weekend and seeing what's happened.
Because you do it blind. I mean, when you turn the lights off, whether it's at 9:01 on Friday or you do something with your daughter, but that's it for the most part, you're done. You come back up 5:30 or so Monday morning. And so that whole text line, that's like a big ball of clay for you. It's like, okay, what do the peeps want?
Well,
what are they talking about?
I strolled up yesterday to my son because I went from cable to DirecTV. And Jake yesterday wanted to watch the virtual race, and, well, he was locked out of my Comcast account, so he needed the new info. And I had not set up online, so when I came up yesterday to set it up, I said, look at that. There's a couple of texts here. Let's see what we got. And I was talking about being the red hat guy on Friday.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, at football games, guy walks out on the 20 during the commercial, wears a red hat. When he walks off the field, that's when play can resume. He's there to tell you that there's a commercial going on. And now it's even so elaborate that they have a timer in the college games that they come out with, basically counting down the 3 minutes or whatever the commercial break is. And the gentleman says, Mark, you wanted to be the red hat guy? I wanted to be the Australian rules football official that was in the suit and the Sound of Music hat.
Yes!
He would step out, point his fingers forward at waist level, and told you that the football went between the poles. Fascinated me. I saved this and didn't respond because I wanted to see it this morning. I am so with you on this. I loved the early ESPN days of Australian rules football because I watched it, I would say, for 2 weeks, just trying to figure out what the hell the rules were.
Yes.
And if memory serves me right, if you caught a forward kick, basically you got a free kick. If the ball bounced, they could kick the ever-living crap out of you.
Right.
If you
It
lateraled the ball,
rugby,
if you lateraled the ball or passed the ball with your hands, it was a free-for-all. But if you could kick it and your teammate caught it, he essentially got a free kick. And there was the middle that I think was 6 points, and the outside was 1.
Right.
On the kick. And he would run out after the thing and he'd make that point, 1 arm or 2 arms. I am totally with this texter. I want to see an Australian rules football game. I loved that sport. I actually wish ESPN would show it still instead of all the replay crap in the day.
The double armed when
yes.
When the guy kicked it through the middle uprights. I mean, the side upright, it was only worth a point. You know, you got the one arm deal, whether it was the left arm or the right, but you only got the one arm. It wasn't as dramatic. But Mark, when they kicked it through the middle uprights, and it was as if it's like the ring announcer just holding on for an extra couple of seconds before they let us know who won the fight. And the winner, that's what that Australian rules football guy was. He would come out, and it was as if he knew they're centered on him, and so he would give it that dramatic pause. And then the double-armed, boom! Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Every goal was reminiscent of Leslie Nielsen doing the umpire at Naked Gun. I mean, every single goal had that type of, you could have put the Spanish TV goal announcement over this guy and it would have worked.
I mean, Ian Darke should have been doing Australian rules football before he was doing international soccer. It would have been great. I mean, especially since, as you mentioned, Mark, the guy was in all white. I mean, to me, he was Top Chef before Top Chef. I mean, that's what I always thought he was, the all white thing. And so all I can think of now when you bring up Australian rules football is combining that with Ian Darke. I think of the guys going, and the all whites are all right tonight. Oh, I miss it. Billiards, early days of ESPN. You could turn it on. CFL, Australian rules football, billiards on all the time.
The billiards that I remember, we were at a friend's house. We were into pool. My buddy had a pool table, and so they played a lot of 9-ball on ESPN. That's where I learned what 9-ball was. And so we're at a buddy's house, and he was upstairs doing something. 2 of us are on the couch, and his old man walked in, and his dad just passed, and I loved this guy more than anybody that's not family, one of the smartest people. And he sat there and he looked, and there was this guy with long sideburns, just a mess playing pool. And Lou berated this guy using the most colorful language I've ever heard. And I was 13, 14 years old. And I mean, he undressed this guy for 5 minutes about a one unclassless piece of blank. Pool's a respectable sport. You wore suits. And it went on. And then he just walked out of the room. And my buddy and I just looked at one another because you couldn't laugh. And then just rolled for 5 minutes after. But yes, I loved the early day billiards on ESPN.
And it was the last bastion, Mark. To me, it was the last place. Carson and the billiards on ESPN were the last 2 places that I remember you could see people drinking and smoking. Were Carson and the billiards on ESPN. That's the last places that I remember seeing booze and cigarettes on television. I love him going, and billiards is respectable. I don't know about you. All right, maybe it is on television, but not at the corner pool hall in college. But let me tell you,
but he's talking about the 50s. This is a guy he passed at 91 years of age. He wasn't talking about the 70s at the corner bar in Scranton. He was talking about when he went out, which was a long time ago.
Fats and
Willie Mosconi, the hustler. You wore a suit inside the pool hall, for crying out loud. And if you missed the beginning of the show today, we ran the Open 47, 48 times. Things weren't firing. It was a bit of a mess. And I only say that not to get Ian more fired up, but to read this text if you didn't hear that. Someone at 620 texted in, I'm not going to lie. Turned my volume up when I heard you guys going in and out just in case. I thought there was going to be an off-air rant, and I didn't want to miss that.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you, sir, in another time, there would have been 2 rants. There would have been mine and David's, and they may have been going on simultaneously. And there was never even close to a rant. There was more laughter. We have changed. We have very much mellowed in this second act. It's just not worth getting that fired up for. It's not going to change anything if we get fired up.
And we knew, because some people were letting us know, because we thought we weren't going on the air. And yet we were getting some communication from others going, no, I can hear you guys. And Ian, who's back in the studio, he doesn't think we're going on the air. It's not firing. Hold on. I got to get this. And we're like, no, I think we're on the air. No, we're not. And so Mark and I are laughing because we're like, hey, listen, we got microphones. This could end badly. So let's just smile and go with it. And listen, so you heard the intro to the show about 4 times.
And David, for those on radio, I'm going to have to ask, is that just a hooded sweatshirt on your chair behind you?
This is my Thursday night football.
Okay, good enough. But Johnny Mack on Twitch said, I love David, but I just envision him walking around in that white robe dinner jacket behind him on the chair, eating skillets and voraciously opening Hershey Kisses, pacing back and forth, screaming, can I please get a quesadilla?
I will say my wife is going through Reese's Minis, and she keeps calling them vegetables. Well, let me tell you, my wife needs to
slow down on the vegetables.
Enough on the tomatoes. Man, oh man. She is pounding them here during this quarantine, or self-quarantine as the case may be. 479-5551, 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line.
Early voting is no on today's poll question. Florida is reopening this week. Now that you can, will you go out to dinner this week? 59% in the early voting saying no. David and I split. Although would you go out alone, or are you still going to have to force to take the week off?
Well, what I would like to do is, there are a few people I haven't really seen in the last 6-7 weeks. I would like to be able to leave the house and maybe meet up with them and sit across from a table and have a beer and talk about life in the pursuit of happiness without my significant other.
Right.
I don't know if she's going to allow that, though, because when I come back to the house, she might put me in bubble wrap, throw me in the pool, and then quarantine me in the room for 2 weeks. So, first things first, as I said in the first hour, I got my wife out of the house yesterday. Out of the house. That may not seem like a big deal to the rest of you, but you got to trust me on this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 9.5. All right, in this house.
Oh, I think it's a 10. I'm not going to lie, David. I've been with you virtually through this whole ordeal for part of it next to you, and I'm not going to let this slip off lightly. Yes, most would think that a 9.5 is a really good grade. I'm going to give you a 10, David, because I know just how difficult, and I understand all the reasons why. I've kind of changed my tune with this. Whatever your wife wants to do, I support. I just hope people support what everybody else does. That's kind of been my philosophy going forward.
Right.
You got to be able to deal with people a little differently than you have in the past. You have to be far more tolerant to what other people's fears are.
Well, and not just fears, but also people have pre-existing conditions, many of which most people are unaware of. So there is also a method to certain people's madness as to why it is that they're going to stay close to home, whether the governor of your state opens it up or not. They're going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay here. I just need to chill out for a while. I'm uncomfortable.
And that seems to be what the 58% that are like, somebody texted, nope, another week for me for sure. Pop-Tarts and pizza rolls. I'm good.
Well, I don't know what you thought the percentage was going to be. You and I, when we do these poll questions, we oftentimes have a Card Sharks number in our head that we think that the winning vote total is going to be a certain percentage. And I thought anything above 2-1 against was good news for those that really want to open up.
And I figured because of where we live and just knowing the political landscape of Southwest Florida, I thought we'd be a little closer to 50-50. I figured it would lose, but I figure it's going to lose 55-45. That kind of was in my head where we'd be.
Yeah, see, and it's funny because I don't look at this as much as a blue and red thing. To me, this kind of crosses party lines. You could be the biggest blue or you could be the biggest red, and you could have a completely different thought process about this than whatever it is that your party is thinking about it, if you know what I mean.
Well, on that note, I will say, because my mother and my mother-in-law are on two opposite sides of our political spectrum.
Okay.
Polar opposite.
Oh, boy.
180 degrees. Merry Christmas.
I was going to say Thanksgiving at your house.
Woo, no. That's why we go to Pittsburgh every other year. Now, and you know what? And to be honest, my mother and my mother-in-law get along very well. But I say that because they are on complete opposite ends of politically. Right. So to back up your point, David, both of them 75 years old, and both of them have had enough. And both of them have basically said, I get it. I'm 75. But if I'm here for 5 years or 10 years or however many more, I'm not living inside my condo the whole time. Enough. And that's where they both are. And so you're on to something, David, because, and here they are in the highest risk group.
Right.
Both saying, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. 7 weeks, I can't live my life inside of a house anymore. So it's a level of tolerance all over the place. So you're right. Maybe that is it. But I still think here will be 55-45 no. That's my guess right now.
Okay. All right. And I think it'll be, the yeses will be lower. To me, if it even hits 40, I'd be like, oh, wow. Okay. Because I do think, once again, not wanting to get political, but I do think, there's many different layers to this coronavirus issue. It's different between, by the way, you wanting it to open up. I mean, Mark, let's be honest. I mean, there are many of us, and, whether it's hypocritical or not, but you could be someone that is in favor of, hey, we need to open it up a little bit more than we are now. But then when the question's turned on you, okay, hey, we are opening it up. You going to go out? No. I mean, you can be on both sides of that. You may not think you can, but you actually can, because there's an economic component to this, obviously. There's a mental health component to this, obviously. But turn it around on you. But are you going to go out? No, I'm good. I'm going to hold tight. But I think we need to, but I'm good. That's why, to me, 40% even would be a pretty big vote total. And what are we at, like 58-42 right now?
No, we're at like 64. I mean, it's early voting, so when 5 votes change it quite a bit between 6 and about 7:30, and then it gets a little more stabilized in the second half of the show. As everything was still over the weekend, I mean, no real new news out there, but I thought the point you made that Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada basically telling all the players coming into Canada for the NHL they'd have to quarantine for 14 days. Right. I think that eliminates Toronto as one of the possible sites.
Well, it does make you wonder, are the Canadian teams, if the NHL is going to resume, but when they resume, let's assuming there is going to be an attempt to complete this regular season and season, don't you think you're going to have to do it all in the States?
Absolutely. They had
I
talked
don't think
about
you could wait 2 weeks, if you know what I mean.
They had talked about trying to find a couple of locations. At first, they were looking at college towns. I think North Dakota was mentioned. I keep seeing that Toronto's mentioned. If Prime Minister Trudeau is going to stick with what he said, that takes Toronto out. I've always thought Minneapolis made a ton of sense. You have 2 pro rinks, a college rink that are all, between the St. Paul Civic Center, the Target Center, and where the Gophers play. You've got 3 hockey rinks there that are going to hold over 15,000 people. Not to mention hundreds of practice facilities in the greater Minneapolis-St. Paul area. So you could give you could give damn near each team a rink to practice in, and you have 3 to play games in. I know now, I don't know how you do anything on the eastern side of the country. Is Boston going to let you do something? I mean, New York's not.
Maybe upstate.
But there's not enough. There wouldn't be enough facilities upstate to do. Not like a Minneapolis area. Detroit would be a great spot, but Detroit's a hot zone. Detroit's. We all see. Michigan over the last week and a half has told Florida to hold my beer. It's the first time that people from the state that I'm from can't make fun of me because of where I live now. I can make fun of them. So, I mean, I thought Detroit would be a great spot, but they're not in the right place to do that right now. New York's obviously out. I think Dallas would end up being a spot because, believe it or not, there's a lot of hockey down there. There's enough rinks.
I would think that Colorado would be a spot. You've got Denver University, Colorado College, Air Force that all have places to play besides, obviously, where the Lance play.
And believe it or not, it wouldn't shock me to see either Miami or more likely Tampa. You got Tampa and Orlando with 2 rinks, and you've got practice facilities in and around the Tampa area. For that matter, they could use Hertz.
Yeah, it would be. Wouldn't it be great if we could end up in part of the return to sports somehow, some way?
Yes.
Even though I don't think they're going to allow fans into both the NBA and NHL when they attempt to return. I don't.
But I actually think Hertz would be a great arena because your TV spots would be perfect. From a viewing standpoint, the cameras aren't low. The cameras aren't high. You'd get pretty pictures out of that building.
Yes, you would. And let's face it, if you're not allowing fans, you
put the cameras anywhere you want.
Right. This could look like the Saturday night hockey night in Canada broadcasts on Canadian television there that always had the lower angles. You'd watch the Saturday night broadcast in Canada as an American sports fan, and you'd go, man, look how low they get. Look how good this game looks. They shoot it better than we do.
I'll never forget doing a roller hockey game in Montreal. Our producer, director, Greg Gunn. Man, this is every commercial. God, this is fun. God, you guys are great. This is so fun. He was just having a ball all night because you had pros. I mean, you hired the whole crew out of Quebec. It was like, whoa, that's how this is done, huh?
As somebody chimed in on our Twitch chat room, if they use Hertz Arena, where would the players park? Well, that is true. There are a few cars on the lot.
Miramar.
Is the back lot, are the rental cars on the back lot? I just thought they were taking up the whole front.
Oh, no, they're taking up the whole lot.
Oh, boy.
Every single space.
Yeah. It would be funny to see Connor McDavid walking over from Miramar, just like those of us that try to get out of paying for parking. I mean, that would be funny. If they could have the guy greet him with the cones, all right, just, to really give him the full experience, I think that'd be great. Miller and Moulton, 22 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Really would have been a good time for on Craig Brush's favorite sports talk show, Miller and Moulton.
Hey, I think we talk more about him.
Those guys don't even know his name.
When little kids go on the road, they take maybe a blanket or a teddy bear. Gronk is a 6'6.5" pacifier for Tom Brady.
Colin Cowherd, weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
When it comes to cataract surgery, the lens you choose matters. Dr. Jonathan France and the caring team of surgeons at France Eye Care want to help you navigate your vision challenges with an intelligent solution, the PanOptix intraocular lens. Dr. France, proud to not only be the first in Southwest Florida to bring you the breakthrough technology of the trifocal solution, he's also the #1 PanOptix surgeon in the state of Florida. PanOptix, specially designed to help patients see 20/20 at distances that are near, far, and even in between. Experience the freedom of living without glasses for distance driving, computers, and reading. With PanOptix, you'll experience a clear advantage that you didn't know was possible. See your future in 2020.
Big test today, David. We're going to hook up with the first interviewer via...
Are we going to try it?
Yeah. It's top of the hour one, so it's even better.
you own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Shoot me your. I'll give you an email, Miller and Moulton fans. Shoot me an address, and I'll send you a couple bottles of it.
For little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything.
Yeah, that Jazz Jane Watt Anand is his name.
Okay.
From Thailand, he's ranked 39th in the world.
Other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone products. Looks like tile, looks like stone.
Tied for 14th at the PGA last year.
I was going to say he hasn't won in the States, though, has he?
No, he has 9 international victories, 0 tour victories. His best resorts were at one of the one overseas, the HSBC World Champions T14 and T14 at the PGA.
Right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com.
I just figured when you were doing all your, I don't know if he played in the Open, but he must not have played in the Open.
Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat
25
out of the
seconds.
air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
I got something here. You got anything?
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
27 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 479-5551. Today is the last day that teams have to decide whether or not they are picking up the 5th-year option on their 2017 first-round picks. That's not that long ago. 13 of the 31, because there's only one player, the Colts safety Malik Hooker, in which Indianapolis has to decide today whether or not they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. Only one player, only one player who's the team hasn't made a decision, but 13, Mark, of the 31 first-round picks from just 3 years ago, the teams have decided that either A, this guy's a miss, we got it wrong, or B, might be all right, but I don't know if I want to pay him that much. But, Mark, these are some of the misses. 2nd overall pick, Mitchell Trubisky. 3rd overall pick, Solomon Thomas. 4th overall pick, Leonard Fournette. 5th overall pick, wide receiver Corey Davis of the Tennessee Titans. 9th overall pick, wide receiver John Ross of the Bengals. Once again, brought something to the table, but, he's don't know that the price tag is worth it. Hassan Reddick, 13th overall pick, linebacker Cardinals. They signed 2 linebackers as free agents and drafted Simmons out of Clemson. So obviously they've decided we're moving on from this guy. The tackle for Denver, Elway announced late last week, even though this guy has started every single game that they've played since he's been in the league. But they said, yeah, but he's not fifth-year option money good. Garrett Bowles. All right.
What's fifth-year option money?
I believe it's $11 million.
For a starting tackle?
Yeah, and they just decided this guy's not worth it.
Okay.
Gerard Davis, the Lions, decided that he wasn't worth it, the linebacker. The Dolphins, late on Friday, traded their first-round pick from this draft, Charles Harris, the Missouri defensive end. They sent him to Atlanta for a seventh-round pick. Atlanta immediately declined his fifth-year option. The Texans cornerback, Garyon Conley. Falcons defensive end, Takaris McKinley. Taco Charlton. And the 49ers, first it was the 49ers. Now he's already on the Redskins, but Reuben Foster. 13 of the 2017. And what is interesting is 4 of the top 5 and 5 of the top 9. And do you just chalk this up? If you were running an organization, because this is not that uncommon. These numbers are maybe not so much the top 10, but the numbers, the 13 or so out of 32, if you will. That actually is very much in line with what's been going on here in recent years. And once again, when you look at that from afar, does it make you think, hey, either this guy better be somebody you're willing to put your job on the line for, or you might as well trade down?
Well, I think what the point is, David, is that you can't trade down. We seem to think in this business that, well, just trade down. Well, trade down. Great. Unless someone's there to make a trade with you, trading down is not that easy. We saw that in this draft. And after we found out that the LA Chargers at least claimed that they would have taken Tua had Miami taken Herbert, if that's the case, no one went to Detroit to try to get to 3. I call bull.
I do also.
I don't think the Chargers were interested in Tua at all. I think they just said what was nice. I think they had their guy, or the fact of the matter is, teams are as concerned with second and third round picks making the team and maybe more concerned with second and third round picks because they're cheaper. That's more valuable to a club, and that these fifth-year options are just that. Unless the player's special, I'm not going to waste the 8 digits because every one of these guys for the fifth-year option is an 8-digit option. So are you going to spend $10+ million on a guy that you may cut the next year? And what these teams are saying is, no, we're just going to cut them. And your theory, while I love it, and I wish I could see teams trade down more, you have to have, and Pat's kind of said this to us over time, well, great, trade down. Who with? And how far do you want to go? And that's the other part that what we said with Detroit is that, hey, Jacksonville or whomever was at 8, 9, 10 that may have wanted to trade, it was too far for Detroit to take a chance on to get a player. Okay. You're right that they should trade down. I think the thing that they should be doing more of, David, is what you have advocated as long as I've known you. Trading players for draft picks. Proven players for draft picks. The kid from Jacksonville, he's still with the Jags. He's a stud. Ngakoue. You can go get him. It's going to take you some sort of a draft pick. But based on these first-round numbers, he's not worth a first-round pick.
Right. That's the presentation I would be making and going, listen, I know you guys think you're really good at this, but you're not as good as you think. Here are the numbers. This is how many of the first-round picks don't see year 5 with the team that drafts them. Year 5. Meanwhile, if there's a guy out there who's already played 3 or 4 years in the league, and yeah, you're going to have to pay him. When you acquire him knowing you're going to have to pay him. Well, that's kind of like the fifth-year option on a guy, right? If you pick it up, you know, hey, I'm going to have to pay this guy, at least for 1 year. Well, look at all these guys that you guys draft for your system that you don't pick up the fifth-year option on. But look at Indianapolis this year. They go out and trade for Buckner. They decided we can't get a player like him where we're drafting. We need him desperately. We're going to give up our first-round pick and get a guy that otherwise we can't get. I think that that's a good use of a first-round pick. Don't know if you can do it every year, but I think you could actually make the case most years for it. Yeah, it gets expensive, but so that's probably why you can't do it every year. But if you're good, if you're close, I think you should do it every other year, to be honest with you.
Yes. And if you trade for that guy and you only get 3 years out of the player you trade for, that's better than what the average is of what you're getting from your first-round picks.
Yes. Yes.
Because these guys that are getting cut after year 4 aren't seeing the field in year 3 the way whoever you would trade for would. They just wouldn't.
And they're obviously not as good of players, in theory, as who you're going to be trading for. So just thought that the numbers are interesting. Heading into the Colts deciding today about Malik Hooker, 13 of the 31 2017 first-round draft picks have not had their fifth-year options picked up. Now, obviously, it does not mean that they're all not going to be on their respective teams. In theory, the Bears made a business decision on Trubisky. Well, who knows? Maybe he wins the starting job, or Foles gets hurt and he ends up getting the starting job. He does particularly well. They may be forced to then sign him to a contract, and then he may have them over a barrel. Wouldn't the irony of ironies be that the Bears end up having to franchise tag Mitchell Trubisky? What a joke that would turn out to be on the Bears. But so these guys could still see a fifth year with their respective teams. But it is interesting that 3 years into their careers, they're deemed not worth the money. That every single team, when they drafted these guys, thought they would be paying them year 5. Because they thought when they drafted them, this is a good player. Oh, glad I got my hands on this guy. Year 5, oh, he'll be worth it.
See, that would be, to me, the next question on this is not necessarily the 13 and 31, David, would be to do a deeper dive of the last 6 years from maybe 13 to 17 and see if there's consistency. Did the Patriots sign 4 of 6 guys to their fifth-year option, whereas the Browns only signed 2 of 6? You know, and I'm just throwing a couple of teams out there, but to me, that would be the next thing you have to do on this, to see that are the Ravens indeed the smartest team in the room? Are they consistently signing fifth-year options on their first-round draft picks? Who has had the highest percentage? It's the same thing last week when we were talking about which teams are developing 3 stars to get drafted in college. And you look at Ohio State, out of the elite schools, has done a better job of getting their 3 stars and below drafted than the Alabamas and Georgias. Or, conversely, it just means that Alabama and Georgia has been smarter with their 4 and 5 stars and they're better players and play more.
Well, I can figure out the answer to that. It's going to take me after the show because I got them all here from 2011 through 2016 as to what teams picked up what options. So for tomorrow, Mark, I feel as if you're Pat Kerwin and you're giving us a homework assignment.
I was. And I'm really excited because I give my daughter homework assignments and she does them with a lot of, she's very eager. There's not a lot of feedback of negative. And right there, David, the same thing I got out of you. That was just a smile on your face going, I've got a research assignment to do about draft picks and fifth-year options. You lit up like a kid on Christmas for that.
This will be fantastic as I wait for the Law & Order reruns to start later this morning. All right, this will give me something to do between now and then.
That's what you've been going with?
No, actually, I just,
okay, I didn't. With that. No, but I have a buddy who can't sleep through the night, wakes up at like 3 every morning. And he says, the only thing on is Miami CSI from like 12 years ago. And I watch an episode about 3 to 4, and then I go back to bed. So I didn't know if that was part of your routine. That, 10 o'clock, you know what, I'm going to get a Law and Order in. Because, damn it, I just want to get a Law and Order in.
I am beginning to find out all that's on television, though. And that is dangerous. That is dangerous. Although Springsteen's song from way back when, it was just 57 channels and there's nothing on. Now there's 557 channels and seemingly nothing on.
Yeah. We keep it off around here. I've loved how little the television has been on in my house. A lot of music. Been listening to a lot of music, but not a whole lot of TV.
Well, good, because you're teaching. You're teaching. You should keep the TV off.
But even at night, we don't turn it on. I mean, the wife has stayed away from Dr. Pimple Popper. I mean, occasionally the Island Hunter show on HGTV comes on. I mean, anytime you're buying an island, I'm in.
I'm sorry. What was that first show?
Dr. Pimple Popper. It's a whole show about a doctor, a dermatologist with these ungodly, gross things that she's removing from people, and my wife loves it. And it is the grossest show I've ever seen.
Wow. That sounds like right up there. My wife's into hoarders, and that just freaks me out.
Hoarders doesn't bother me to the level that Dr. Pimple Popper bothers me.
Say, just be careful now.
I know, that is a tough one. Make sure you enunciate properly.
Right. I was hesitant to bring it back up because you nailed it the first time.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting paying off right there, David.
Right. I just didn't know what you were talking about, though, so I needed you to explain.
Dr. Pimple Popper.
Look at you. I think that's 4 for 4. We may take you out for the 9th inning. Don't want you to screw up the fine day you got going
Sure. Put
there.
the closer in that's going to blow the lead, and I got to walk out with nothing.
That's okay. Your ERA
I feel like Chris
0.
Sale right now.
Yep, I understand, but your ERA is 0.31. Miller and Moulton as we approach 18 minutes before the top of the hour. Today was the day when coming up, and then we'll have a couple of fine guests in the final hour of the show. There were a couple of things that happened over the weekend concerning quarterbacks.
How about them Cowboys?
One of them in Dallas, one of them in Chi-Town. We will talk about them with a couple of guests that know the ins and outs in our 8 o'clock hour. Today was the day when next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You're clear.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
This is Corey Lazar with Wink News. Today, Florida starting to reopen. Phase 1 started at midnight. Restaurants can open outdoor seating and let customers inside at 25% capacity. Same for retail stores. Elective surgeries at hospitals can also resume today. And state
Daughter
parks
is
are opening
still
during
asleep.
the day. Now, if you want to get tested for the coronavirus, CenturyLink Sports Complex is conducting tests. All you need to do is pull up in your car and follow instructions. You do not need an appointment. You do not need a doctor's note.
Wow.
You don't need to be showing any symptoms to be tested there. And the state of
How
Florida
about that?
will soon have a mobile testing lab to see if you have COVID-19. Governor Ron DeSantis made the announcement yesterday. He says the mobile lab will be inside an RV and will travel across the state. For coronavirus updates, trust Wink News, facts, not fear.
When I see something beautiful, I want to capture that moment. A photo really is worth more than 1,000 words. That photo isn't very good if it's not in focus.
Mrs. Buck loves photography. The glasses were getting in her way.
Even though photography is just a hobby, it's something I really care about, and it's good to know that Dr. Liz cared about me just as much.
We really don't want bad vision to keep people from doing the things they love.
Community Eye Center really does have the most caring doctors in sight.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spadafore, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes.
So I sent my mom a text
all these folks will be hurt severely
at
by
the
this
top of the show. I said, hey, don't be alarmed.
Don't
This is what's going on. She texts back, love it. You're at WKRP.
Yep. Andrea Henderson's tweeted out here 21 minutes ago, 40 cars in line at the CenturyLink Sports Complex. They don't open till 9. I mean, they're already lined up down. That's 6 Mile Cypress there, right?
Yep.
So you can see, I'm looking at the picture taken shooting north. It looks, I mean, as far as the eye can see in the picture, David, about 40 cars in line. Yeah, she's about, I mean, you can see it around the corner.
Now, I will say, and I wasn't paying close attention this morning, but when the news was on in the other room, I got the impression watching it that it was open before then. So if I was one of those wanting to be tested, I might have already be in line thinking that it was open before 9.
When I saw her there, I actually thought the same thing. If I wanted to go, I'd go now. What the hell else do I have to do? So that's what you know what we're going to do? We're going to announce that there's free testing here. And if anybody, damn it, we got guests. If we didn't have guests, I want calls from people in line at the coronavirus testing. We need to get a Miller and Moulton sign and get it in front of that place right now. Cassio, can you get a Miller and Moulton sign over to CenturyLink? Text him. Get him to work. Get him to do something.
John.
Jesus.
Come on, John.
Maybe they can put us. Oh no, they've just got free info and come. Matrix board there. I need something.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. You answered yes to either question.
Funny that a guy thought that this was a robe behind me.
Robe or a dinner jacket. It's maybe the best thing I've seen all day.
To a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. You have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us.
30 seconds.
Give me a pinch between your cheek and gums.
Pure tobacco flavor.
To a pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah, tobacco.
Tobacco. C-A-H. Tobacco.
283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This
Here live.
is Miller and Moulton.
"13 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Sign up for us, whether it be on YouTube or Twitch. It's free. And get the Miller and Moulton channel.
That it?
That's it.
That's
it. I sold it as hard as I could.
You can subscribe, and it's free if you have an Amazon Prime account. That'll prevent you from having to watch 30 to 60 seconds of ads before you see Miller and Moulton. If you have Amazon Prime, your Twitch account is free because of that. So use it on us. That would be great. Now it's time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We start in 1869. The Cincinnati Red Stockings play their first official game as the sport's first professional side against the Great Western Baseball Club. Final score, Red Stockings 45, Western Baseball Club 9.
Joey Votto with a big day in Great American Ballpark. It was a bandbox then, it's a bandbox now.
1871, the first baseball league game in the National Association of Baseball Players, Fort Wayne Downs, Cleveland, to spit. 1919, the first legal Sunday game in New York City. 35,000 watched the Phillies beat the New York Giants 4-3.
I didn't realize that Major League Baseball in New York had a little Chick-fil-A thing going on there. I didn't realize that at all. Huh. Who knew?
The 8 summer games opened in Paris, France, today in 1924. 1963, Bob Shaw had a rough day on the hill, David. Set a record with 5 balks.
Wow.
That's a lot of balks.
Joe West must have been behind second base there.
That's kind of what I was thinking. 1965, Willie Mays breaks Mel Ott's National League home run record with his 512th home run. 68, the first ABA championship. The Pitt Pipers beat the New Orleans Buccaneers 4-3. I brought this up because I never heard of either of these teams.
Wait a minute. The Pitt Pipers?
The Pitt Pipers.
I thought the only professional basketball team in Pittsburgh was Julius Erving in that...
the fish that stole Pittsburgh?
Right.
Or saved Pittsburgh?
Huh.
The forgotten champions, the Pitt Pipers.
Who'd they beat?
They beat the New Orleans Buccaneers.
Huh. Well, and this was before New Orleans had the... Did they have... Were the
No,
Jazz in
no,
New Orleans?
no, not in 68. No. 1969, the Canadians sweep the Blues 4-0, one game 4-2-1. Longest baseball game ever in Veterans Stadium in Philly was today in 1973. The Phillies beat the Braves 5-4 in 20. In 1975, Houston's Bob Watson scores baseball's 1 millionth run.
It was a contest at the beginning of that season. They asked fans to, predict who was going to score baseball's 1 millionth run, and they gave away, a grand prize. I remember entering it.
Really?
Yes.
What Met did you go with?
No, what are you kidding me? The Mets were awful. I didn't go with a Met. Okay, I think I went with a Philly. I think I went with Boa or somebody like that.
1984, Dave Kingman's fly ball never comes down at the Metrodome. So I figured you'd remember that for sure. That one went up, never came down, gets stuck in the ceiling. 85, Angel Cordero Jr. wins the Derby with Spend a Buck. I just remember that call of Spend a Buck down. I just loved the name. 2008.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you see what they did over the weekend?
I did.
On NBC?
I watched their virtual race.
All the Triple Crown winners they put into a virtual race at the Derby. Now, you figured Secretariat would have to win it because he had the fastest time, right?
And Citation I think they just went kind of with their times because Secretariat, the irony of Secretariat setting the Derby record is I'm pretty certain that Sham, who finished second to Secretariat, has the second fastest Derby time of all time, but no one will ever remember that horse because he lost.
Correct.
Got whooped in the Belmont, but ran 2 great races against Secretariat in the Derby and the Preakness. And then we all know what happened in New York when Big Red got up and ran. But
Big Red got motivated. Big Red had read a few press clippings, kind of like, Jordan against the Knicks, and was like, well, enough of this. Criticized me. Big Red must have gone gambling in Atlantic City and got, just raked over the coals for it.
And in 2008, Seth MacFarlane reached a deal with Fox to get $100 million to keep writing Family Guy and American Dad from 2008 to 2012.
That's $20 million a season there.
Right, for 2 shows. He's doing okay.
Yeah, that'll play.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with Audrey Hepburn, born today in 1929. Country singer Randy Travis and golfer Bob Tway, both celebrating their 61st birthdays today. Matthew Barnaby is 47, and Rory McIlroy is 31 years old. Somehow I put the birthdays in too early, and I screwed up my own order, but it was today in 2010. I got just this little tidbit, David. Julie Louis-Dreyfus received the 2,407th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but they originally spelled the name on the star incorrectly.
Well,
damn hyphens. And it was a year ago to the day that we had the first ever disqualified Kentucky Derby winner.
I had just forgotten about it. Oh, man.
Somehow my order got a little messed up with cutting and pasting this morning. So today was the day on this May the 4th.
I will say it was a heck of a virtual race.
Love the fact that there was some bumping.
Yes.
That's the part when I watched it on my phone and I laughed when the horse got bumped. I'm like, all right. Yeah, you have to have. You just keep running the simulator until Secretary wins that, and then you run the thing.
Well, I mean, how could you? I was watching the race, and Secretariat did not take the lead until there was
the stretch.
Yeah,
in the stretch.
And I'm watching the race, thinking. Now, I didn't see it live, but I saw it when it was posted on Twitter, and I'm thinking to myself the whole way, well, Secretariat's got to win this thing, right? He's got the fastest time. He's pretty much regarded as the greatest racehorse ever, right? I mean, come on now. There's going to be no doubt if they ever do a Belmont. I mean, I know he's going to win that, but I mean, come on. He's winning this thing, right? Because, you do all those simulations, and I guess, you can come up with many different scenarios, but I'm like, come on.
After it all, it is a horse race, and when Secretariat ran in it, it wasn't the Derby of today. They weren't running it with 20 horses. It was a big field, but it wasn't the fields that we have now. And if you were to run that race with that many horses, you don't know what the trip's going to be. There's no for sures in a sport like that. And as one of our Twitch listeners does point out, not only was he the greatest horse of all time, he was one of the 50 greatest athletes of all time as well.
Oh, yes, David. Right. In between Mickey Mantle and Oscar Robertson when ESPN did that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Big O. Right. Not as good an athlete as a horse.
Obviously.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And it was maybe, of all the little vignettes you did, the one on Secretariat was the best one of the 50.
It was excellent. It was. I mean, and when you consider that you couldn't get an interview with the star of the vignette, and yet it was still very well done. My favorite of that, though, they're having the big celebration. Rich Eisen is still with ESPN at the time, and he's hosting it, and they're having a big party, and they're announcing, we're going to do this top 50 thing, and Jim Brown's at the celebration. And Rich Eisen says, Jim, how do you feel that you're one of the 50 greatest athletes of the 20th century? And he looks right at Rich Eisen, and he goes, well, I hope you're taking a 0 off that. And I believe Jim Brown came in at number 4.
And there are a lot of people that thought it was 3 spots too low.
Well, Jim might have.
But, hey, when you throw in the lacrosse and all that stuff, it's a valid argument. We talk Cowboys and Bears in the 8 o'clock hour on Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
You're clear.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down.
You think what?
Didn't they go Ali?
I think so.
Didn't it go Ali, Ruth, Jordan, Jim Brown?
0 down, $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
We just want to take a moment to tell you, we miss it too. We miss the crack of the bat, the banging of trash cans. We miss the dunks.
Slams it home for 2.
The left turns.
Look how close it is for the lead.
The hockey horns. The kiss cans. The wave. The high fives. We miss it all.
We just got to wait this out and see how it goes.
But just because we miss it doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
We'll get through it. The USA needs it.
On Fox Sports Radio.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor. The Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company. And for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Hoops in the hallways, battling in the break room, and target practice in the urinals. WFSX-AM from the Rock to downtown Fort Myers. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com. There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be
Do we have them?
for you because there is no. I sent the invitation. I sent him a text.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. It is on and ready.
And as we approach a couple minutes past 8 o'clock, top of the morning to you, how the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We are streaming at foxsportsfm.com. We are broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line at 479-5551, 479-5551. Joining us now is Bobby Belt. He works for the NFL Network. He's also host of Cowboys Cast and co-host with Jane Slater, the Boys and Girl podcast. You can follow Bobby on Twitter at BobbyBeltTX. Bobby, top of the morning to you. How are you?
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can
Yes,
now.
we can.
Now it popped on. Great. We first for us, we're doing the video conferencing, which is something we have not done a lot of ever, actually. So, Bobby, good morning. You're our test guinea pig. We thank you for that. And this has been a terrific little offseason for the Cowboys. I mean, the draft fell into their lap, and now they get the one thing that we felt they've needed for a while, and that's a backup quarterback in Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've done throughout, if you look at not just what they've done through the draft and addressing a lot of their needs there. I think they've done a really important one because of what it means to do with Dak in terms of some leverage, not a ton, but on the leverage front, just with some of the hard ball that Todd France, the agent at CAA, has been playing. I was a little surprised they went ahead and did it just because it's not quite like them to go that direction and spend money on a backup quarterback, especially when they've got so many other things that they've got to get done and get, squared away on that front. But in terms of with all the people that they have to pay, but it is something that I think definitely helps them and gives them a good insurance policy.
Do you think the Eagles game at the end of the year changed their thought process? Because Dak was clearly banged up going into that game, had to get shot up in order to play in that game. He did not play well. That was the game that determined who was going to win the division. And we've also seen the success that the Eagles have been able to have lately when they've had a competent backup. Do you think that their thought process changed because Dak was banged up for that Eagles showdown?
I don't know that changed their thought process much. I know that was something where, like you mentioned, Dak being banged up and those issues that he had heading into that game. I remember that entire week he was, just unable to get his shoulder up and throw it all during practice that week. So I do think that, it may have been top of their mind, but I don't think it would completely change their philosophy. I would guess it's more related to Mike McCarthy being here now and what Mike McCarthy wants to do more than what they saw last year in Philly. Because, at the end of the day, the Cowboys, in their long, illustrious history and things like that, and the, long list of Pro Bowl quarterbacks that they've had from, Don Meredith all the way up through Romo to now Dak, they've never had a quarterback start every game 3 years in a row. They've never had that until Dak, and now Dak's on year 4. And so Dak really has been historically durable, unlike any quarterback they've ever had. And I think they trust that durability and they trust that toughness. I think it just comes down more to the philosophy of Mike McCarthy and his contingency plans. And I think that's why they drafted Ben DiNucci in the 7th round and why they went ahead and made the signing for Andy Dalton.
But the draft in the first 3 rounds, I don't know if it could have worked out any better for the Cowboys. The Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys just kind of had one of these drafts where players fell to them, and I don't think there was a spot in the first 3 rounds where it felt like they didn't get great value. CeeDee Lamb might be a special player. That had to be, was that the biggest shock for the Cowboys, that Lamb just fell into their lap?
I think they were pretty shocked by CeeDee Lamb falling into their lap. I would bet that they were even more shocked that they were able to get Trayvon Diggs in the 2nd round, because Trayvon Diggs, a corner from Alabama, that was a guy that I know they were considering at pick 17 or as a trade back option if CeeDee Lamb wasn't the guy that they were going to be able to get. They did not head into this draft thinking they were going to get CeeDee Lamb, though. He was not top of mind for them. Their main focus was they were wanting to, they had kind of narrowed it down to C.J. Henderson, the corner from Florida, as their pipe dream. And their more likely fallback scenario was we'll either get the cornerback A.J. Terrell from Clemson or we'll get K'Lavon Chase on the edge rusher from LSU. I know they were surprised that Chason made it. They had thought there was kind of a 50-50 shot there, and they were pleased that he made it. And had CeeDee Lamb not been there, K'Lavon Chason would be a Dallas Cowboy. But the fact that CeeDee Lamb fell there, he was their 6th rated overall player. They never envisioned a scenario where that would happen. As Jerry Jones said after the second night of the draft, he said that both Lamb and Diggs, if you would have asked them at the beginning of the draft, they would have said that there was a 1% chance that they would get to them at each of those picks. And so they were pretty thrilled with that. And then they were really excited with their 3rd round pick, Neville Gallimore, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma. Neville was a guy that it's hard to believe, but they actually had rated higher than Diggs. They had him rated as a high 2nd, borderline 1st round type of player. They just needed, Diggs as a guy that they had more of a need for at corner, with Byron Jones leaving for the Dolphins and some questions about Chidobe Awujie's growth. And so it was, they needed a corner there, and Gallimore and Diggs were close, but they actually did have Gallimore ranked higher. And I think if you look across the board, they did a really good job getting really good value. All 3 of their picks were guys that they had rated higher than the guy they drafted with their top overall pick at 58 last year in Tristan Hill, the defensive tackle. They had Diggs, Lamb, and Gallimore all ranked higher. And they were close to having Tyler Biadasz, the center they took in the 4th round or 5th round. They were close to having Biadasz ranked right about where Hill was too. They had Hill as a late 2nd, and they had Biadasz as an early 3rd, late 2nd type of player. So they got a ton of value all across the board.
Yeah, we felt that as well. We're talking with Bobby Belt from the NFL Network. He hosts the Cowboys Cast and, along with Jane Slater, the Boys and Girl Podcast. You can follow Bobby on Twitter at BobbyBeltTX. How much are the Cowboys internally blaming the coaching last year? We know they made the change at head coach, but they also made a change defensively because, Bobby, this team did not force turnovers. For the personnel that they had on that side of the ball, they made very few plays. Internally, how many games do they feel they're going to win this year because they felt they were so poorly coached last year?
I think that they think they're going to do. I think that internally, you've got a lot of people blaming what happened with the coaching staff, from players to front office personnel. I think a lot of people felt like it was just time for a change. And as much as you may love somebody, like a lot of these players love Jason Garrett, I think they also recognize that this was, a guy who had been with this organization for 13 years and was head coach for the last decade. And there just reaches a point where that message will fall on deaf ears. There's a reason why, Bill Belichick is an outlier and why you don't generally see, 20 years. And even at the end of 20 years, why, a Brady and a Belichick split. Messages wear thin after a while. Guys bump heads. And I think that was the case with Jason Garrett. Guys had just kind of started to grow tired of the message and grow tired of the philosophy, and it was falling on deaf ears. And I think that their hope is they're going to see something similar to what happened in 2007, which was when they let Bill Parcells go, who I think everybody would agree is a definitively better coach than Wade Phillips. When they let Bill Parcells go and Wade Phillips came in here, you saw they were fantastic in 07. They went 13-3 after kind of struggling around 500 for the last couple of years with a largely similar cast. And I think the reason for that was that, they were kind of freed up a little bit. And the thing a lot of people don't like talking about here in Dallas is the fact that in 2016, when there was something fresh and you moved away from Romo and there was a new voice and a new steady hand leading that huddle, it was a little refreshing. It was a change up and guys were rejuvenated. And I think they hope that's the case with Mike McCarthy. But I know another big part of what they thought went wrong last year was they had a complete lack of leadership on defense, and that Jalen Smith and DeMarcus Lawrence were not ready to step in and be the leaders that Sean Lee and Tyrone Crawford had been for them for a number of years. And so I think that the coaching is a big aspect. They expect improvement there, but I think more than that potentially or equally as important is the fact that they need their defensive guys to step up and be better leaders. They need the guys that they're paying big time money to step in and be big leaders on defense and hold guys accountable. And if they don't get that, the coaching change may not matter as much.
Well, it sounds this one though, when like from a Parcells who was a hard-nosed guy, this one sounds to me a lot like what Tampa went through a decade and a half ago. This is Dungy to Gruden. This is the nice guy, maybe the player's coach leaving that couldn't give him the kick in the ass that they might have needed that maybe McCarthy can give him. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that McCarthy is more of a disciplinarian, and it's not the fair word. Jason Garrett was very big on discipline. Jason Garrett was very big on structure. But yeah, I think it's more, the cracking heads type of principal that steps into a school as opposed to the structured, friendlier principal. But I do think that that's what they're hoping will happen here, is that there's going to be somebody with a stronger hand or a more direct hand with their leadership. I don't think they disliked Jason Garrett's leadership values, and he made a lot of guys feel like they were family. Ezekiel Elliott loved Jason Garrett and really connected with him and trusted him. And a lot of the guys, Dak Prescott has always been a big fan of Jason Garrett. I think most of the guys who had issues with him were kind of outliers. You're not going to find in a group of 60 players that everybody gets along with your head coach. But I think that when you look at the changeover and what they're hoping to accomplish with it, I remember at the end of last season, it was heading into, I believe it was the Rams game. It was sometime in December. And no, it would have been the Eagles game because it was the shoulder. And I remember we were watching Dak try and, so we were trying to see if Dak would throw anything on one field. And so we weren't totally paying attention to the other side of the field where special teams was going on. But then I heard, and I kind of caught my attention and threw me off guard. I heard Jason Garrett starting to yell a little bit. So I looked over, and he was looking at his coaching staff. And he said, threw out a couple profanities and said, "Come on, you guys, I can't be the only one coaching out here." And I think that there was definite accountability issues that Jason Garrett had with his staff and with his players. And in the end, he's ultimately responsible for that, I think. But I think that across the board, and that's why you saw such a heavy reset on the assistant coaches too, I think they felt like they needed a mass change. And that's why you only saw, 3 assistant coaches kept, when a lot of people, I think, initially thought, well, whoever comes here is going to have to take 10 assistants that Jerry Jones likes. They knew a reset was needed.
Bobby, thanks for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it. Continued success.
Absolutely. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good one.
You too.
Bobby Belt, part of the NFL Network, hosts a couple of different Cowboys podcasts, one called the Cowboys Cast and the other the Boys and Girl Podcast with Jane Slater of the NFL Network. You can follow Bobby on Twitter at Bobby Belt TX. Bobby Belt joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Mark, I do believe it is something that media doesn't talk about enough. We bring it up, but the value of coaching, and that sometimes we talk about those that do a really good job, and we'll talk about the head coach who's not doing a really good job, but we don't talk a lot about the assistants and whether they're doing a good job or they're not getting the job done. And when you look at the Cowboys' defensive numbers and how many games they went without forcing a turnover, and the investments that Jera's made on that side of the ball, one of two things has gone on that side of the ball. Either they've invested big money in the wrong guys, or they were horribly schematically used last year, because the Cowboys have been very vanilla and have forced very few turnovers for a while now. And they supposedly had guys. I mean, Jones, the Dolphins, thinks an ace corner. He barely got his hand on a football last year. They've invested in 2 of the 3 linebackers, big money. All right. And Lawrence, the defensive lineman, they gave $20+ million a year to. And that defense disrupted virtually nothing last year.
Well, then on top of that, they added, because it's a little personnel and coaching. There's no doubt that it's both, because if it were just coaching, they wouldn't make massive personnel changes. They brought in Poe, McCoy, Clinton Dix. They drafted Gallimore and Diggs on the defensive side of the ball. They brought in Joe Thomas as a backup at linebacker. I mean, they went out and really changed. Actually, Thomas was there. I'm sorry. They brought in the Jet, unrestricted free agent, for help in the defensive backfield. Now, I don't know what, but I mean, they brought in 7 new guys on defense, David.
Well, with the way they played last year, I mean, that offense got very few short fields, very few turnovers. It's stunning, actually. The Cowboys went a month without forcing a turnover. Mark, you would almost think that a turnover would just happen for you.
I was going to say the same. Someone drops a ball.
Yeah,
a pass is thrown so badly that you just get a pick. I mean,
come on. You had to hit somebody hard enough once, right, to pop it loose?
Right.
I mean, come on. They went a month without forcing a turnover last year, during the part of the season in which the NFC East was there for the taking, and they were in first place, and they couldn't put the darn thing away. And you can have a defense which is only given up a certain number of points a game, and you think, hey, they're playing really well. But in the modern day NFL, man, you gotta, that plus minus thing, that's the biggest stat on the sheet. Yes. Outside of the scoreboard, the biggest stat on the sheet is the plus minus.
Well, yeah, which one has the biggest influence on the scoreboard? And it's certainly turnovers. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, we've kind of gotten to the point where we've had to ask the question for 5 years when you're talking to someone to break out a game. Okay, excluding turnovers. I mean, that's really, because you can't give them the easy answer, because the turnovers is the answer. What's the difference in this game? Who makes more turnovers? Okay, take that out. Then let's look at something.
Right. How many questions have we asked in the last few years in which we go, if points off turnovers are equal?
Yes.
What's the biggest key to this game? And the Cowboys last year didn't force nothing. And that has to change.
We have a poll question today that is going along what you thought, David. As the show continues, your numbers far more closer than where I thought this would be. This is basically a 2/3, 1/3 vote right now, just a little bit less than that. Florida is reopening this week. Now that you can, will you go out to dinner this week? 36% of you say that you will. David thought it would be, and David, you said if it got to 40%, you'd think that would be a huge win.
Yeah, for those that
want open, right.
Right, but I thought it would be a 2-1 no. I thought that, and I think that this is one of the few issues in which you could be somebody sitting at home in which you're like, I do kind of hope we open it up a little bit. Are you going to go to a restaurant? Oh, no, not me. Not me. I think it would be good for businesses, et cetera, but no, I'm going to stay home. I do think this is one of those questions at this time in which you could be in favor of, let's open it up a little bit more, but I'm going to stay at home. Thank you.
Yep.
And like in my answer, because I always let people know on the poll question how I voted, and usually, as you know me, Mark, a little reasoning, and here's why.
What would it be without and another thing?
And here's why. I will try this week to get out to a restaurant, but there's no way, and you know what, I'm going to be able to with my wife. It would have to be either solo or with a buddy.
Well, and that's what you had said before, is that, hey, there's people I haven't seen. I'd like to sit across from them and have a conversation. So, and you had said all along that I don't know if my wife will let me. And that has been ringing true throughout the show. It seems that the men of the household are much more eager to get out and socialize than their spouses. I know it's not always the case, but just on the chat room here on Twitch and our Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, those seem to be what we're seeing out there.
Miller and Moulton. So make sure you go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or millerandmoulton.com and vote in our poll question. Now that Governor DeSantis, effective today, has allowed restaurants to open up, will you this week go to a restaurant? Yes or no? It's a simple question. Patrick Finley covers the Bears, a former Naples Daily News alum. He writes for the Chicago Sun-Times these days. We'll talk to Patrick about the Bears saying to Mitchell Trubisky, fifth-year option? Yeah, I don't think so. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We made it through March Sadness, but we're going to answer the question everyone is asking.
Hey, just curious, for those of you watching on Twitch, everybody's still here, everything good? We got one report of some trouble, so I'm just curious. I got a couple of texts during the interview, made me feel that everything was going fine. But even if you just text in a letter or something, I'm just curious if you're here and still viewing all that easily.
Yeah, at any point in time during the interview, did a commercial get slipped in?
Fox Sports Radio.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking
That's what I never had a I think that could be not necessarily a user error, but I always just say if that happens, get out and get out. Yeah, thank you.
Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Cortec that you have. You also have other Cortec products as well.
We also carry the Cortec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Cortec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortec Wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself.
It's your buddy Craig Wolf's birthday today, David.
6281 Naples Boulevard, right next
Is
to
it really?
That's what Facebook told me. They never lie.
That's floormeisters.com.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way.
So when David and I both developed...
Yeah, the wonky in the beginning was on him. He had a couple of issues, and that's me for not getting a hold of him. I should have never went and filled coffee then.
Are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really
Let me know when we're at a minute, please.
Lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about
Hey, Ian, is there any way to check whether or not we're on FoxSportsFM.com?
Yeah, click it.
The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely. Our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move.
It's working fine.
All precautions necessary.
Okay.
We have teamed up
So
with
I just got to. That's why I just said press the button and find out.
Sounds good here.
Yep, fine. It's working fine.
Is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
103.3 Cape Coral. We are
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Patrick is on and standing by.
No, I call Patrick. That's why I needed to know what a minute was. We can't hang up and tell him I'll call him back, Ian. We call all guests from here now set up this way. That's why I needed to know when it was a minute.
So I'm sorry.
We've been doing business right.
The prescription is the
tell him you're
Pool
calling
Doctor
him?
for award-winning
Yeah, I'm calling him right now. That's why I needed to know when it was a minute, Ian.
$39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133.
This is Pat.
Hey, Pat, it's Mark Miller. Sorry, we got our backup producer this morning, so we're a little different. You're on with me. We're going on right now. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Of course.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"27 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming FoxSportsFM.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch channels. Joining us on the Goldberg Noon Abraham Law Firm hotline, local people, local practice, local knowledge, Goldberg-Law.com, is Patrick Finley, former Naples Daily News alum, who these days is writing for the Chicago Sun-Times, covering the Bears and the NFL. You can follow Patrick on Twitter at Patrick Finley. Patrick, how are you and family and friends faring during all this?
Not too bad, though. It's going to be like 42 degrees today, so that could be better.
Ouch! I don't even know what that is. I've got to go into a cooler to feel temperatures like that. Well, I mean, what's more bothersome in Chicago, 42 degrees or 10 tight ends on the roster?
In the middle of the offseason, 10 tight ends, I don't think are that big of a deal. But, yeah, the 42, it was 74 yesterday, and this could be 42 today, and that's just unacceptable.
It really is. It really is. But why? I mean, what was the breakdown as to why there were a lot of needs. They don't pick till the second round. They spend money on Graham. What's the rationale behind going tight end when there seemed to be other pressing needs? Did they just say it was too good of a player to pass up on, or is this part of the system?
Well, the Graham and Kmet play different positions. Kmet is that inline tight end, the one who lines up next to the tackle. Graham is the guy that you put out wide. He is their U tight end, and Kmet is their Y tight end. So technically, they play different positions. They've got 10 guys, but you know the old saying about having two quarterbacks means you have none. The Bears have those too, but having 10 tight ends means that you really don't have the answer on the team. They really like Kmet. They think that he can help them immediately and into the future. He's a local kid. There was a parade past his house the day after he got drafted. They think it's a good fit all the way around.
Talking Bears with Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. You can follow him on Twitter at Patrick Finley. Not a surprise that the Bears did not pick up the fifth-year option on Trubisky. Patrick, Foles is the starter, right? They're going to say whatever they're going to say, but they made the trade. They gave up a fourth-round pick. They don't pick up the fifth-year option on Trubisky. I mean, if Foles isn't the starter, isn't it because he got hurt?
They guaranteed him $21 million too, which is helpful when looking at who they prefer. I don't know. Maybe deep down, if Mitch ran and hid with this starting job, if Mitch was so much better than Foles, that's probably the best outcome for the franchise here. But he hasn't done anything to prove that that's going to happen. They didn't give up all that capital and pay all that money to Nick Foles because they thought that he wouldn't be needed. Let's put it that way. And although I'd argue to you that if you look at Foles' resume, this is not the resume of a guy that you want to start 16 games or that you expect to start 16 games. What is it? It's been 5 years since he started more than half of his team's regular season games. I know that, throws out the most important part of his resume, which is the postseason. But, I don't think either of them will start 16 games. Let's put it that way.
How much better are the Chicago Bears right now on paper than they were when the season ended?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, I suppose you can say that for everybody. Everybody on paper is a little better, probably. They traded out Leonard Floyd for Robert Quinn. That is an upgrade. They brought back Danny Trevathan. Jimmy Graham, I'm still scratching my head why you'd give him 2 years, $16 million. I thought he was just about done, but he should be an upgrade over Trey Burton, who missed most of last season because he was hurt and still couldn't pass a physical when they cut him. So, slight upgrades there. But when you look at what Ryan Pace has done, he's got a lot of guys coming in who are 30 years old or older. I mean, Tashawn Gibson, the old Texan safety, signed with the Bears last week. Ted Ginn is going to sign with them. These are the moves made by somebody trying to win right now. And if he doesn't, I don't know whether he'll be allowed to make the draft picks next year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously, every single day, the Trubisky pick looks as if it's going to be in the first paragraph of his obituary. And Patrick, I guess ultimately that is the question. Is this a really good team being held back at the quarterback position? Or was this a team that 2 years ago kind of overachieved a little bit? Everything fell into place. You could argue that happened last year with the Packers as well. And that really where they are last year is kind of what they are. Which is it?
I think they're a really, really, really good defense. And I think that they're being held back by the offense. Is that mostly Trubisky? Yeah, probably. But Matt Nagy's never been committed to running the football. Even 2 years ago when they were good, Jordan Howard, was average at best. They trade Jordan Howard last year, draft David Montgomery, and actually take a step back. The Bears fired their offensive line coach, brought in a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterbacks coach, moved some pieces around, brought in a new tight ends coach. So Nagy needs to adjust. Nagy's proven to be a really good leader of men, but he needs to adjust his play calling. He needs to find a way to move the football, even if it's turning around and handing the ball off. If the offense can just be average, I think this is a playoff team because that defense is so good. But, we're going to have to see, if you don't trust your quarterback and if you don't trust your run game, I don't know how you're going to move the football.
Well, and everybody thought that they drafted a kid that could really run the football, and I don't think we ever found out last year. I don't think they ever really gave Montgomery the ball enough consistently to see whether or not this guy can do it. But does Nagy need to relinquish play calling duties?
I don't think so. He brought in all these new voices, but he made it very clear that he wasn't going to. I'm okay giving him another year. When you look at what he did that first season, going 12-4, making the playoffs, they ran all these trick plays, these memorable things, even for people outside of Chicago. I think he certainly bought himself more than one bad season to keep going. It'll be interesting to see how he incorporates other people's ideas into what he wants to do. But keep this in mind. When he took the Bears job, one of the handshake deals he had with Andy Reid was that he wasn't going to take any of his guys. So when he started in Chicago, his new coworkers were people he had never worked with before. And, 2 years in, he's, shuffled the offensive coaching staff. Last year, he lost Vic Fangio and a lot of that defensive coaching staff to the Broncos. So there's been some turnover, but now really for the first time, he has people, in places that he is familiar with and that he knows from old jobs, stuff like that. So you would think that, if he can't make it work this season, that there are bigger questions ahead.
He's Patrick Finley, covers the Bears and the NFL for the Chicago Sun-Times. Follow him on Twitter at Patrick Finley. The feeling around the organization, does it feel as if this is it? This is make it happen year, or it's regime change from top right on through? Because from the outside looking in, Patrick, that's what it looks like to us. They got to win, or Pace and Nagy are gone.
The front office likes Pace. I think that if they went 5-11, I think they'd have no choice but to fire Pace. I would be careful linking the two guys too. Remember, Ryan Pace hired and fired John Fox and then hired Matt Nagy. If Pace were to be fired, I don't think that would ensure Matt Nagy's demise by any stretch. That said, you and I both know that when you bring in a new boss, what if the casualties is he eventually will fire the coach probably. But Nagy has far more positives going for him right now than Pace does. And here's the thing: if they're bad again, they're going to have to draft a quarterback, with a top 10 pick next year. And to me, the question then becomes, do you trust Ryan Pace, the guy who signed Mike Glennon, the guy who drafted Mitch Trubisky, and the guy who, traded a fourth-round pick and gave $21 million to Nick Foles, when guess what? He could have had Andy Dalton for $3 million if he had waited a month. Do you trust him to be the one to make the quarterback pick? That's the question. If you don't trust him to make the pick, I don't know how you can employ him. If you do say, okay, maybe you get another shot at this and Matt Nagy will help you comb through the list of college quarterbacks, maybe you could talk yourself into it. But if they're so bad that they're drafting high, I find it hard to believe that Pace survives.
In all seriousness, is there anyone that Chicago could bring in that the fan base would trust to get a quarterback? Because, well, we all know the Bears can't seem to find one. I mean, this has been the problem with the Bears forever. So is there a trust factor to anybody finding a quarterback for the Chicago Bears?
Are you telling me that Sid Luckman being the greatest quarterback of all time, you got to go back pretty far for that?
Right.
You know what? No, what's weird about Chicago fans is Chicago fans have tricked themselves into thinking that if you play defense and run the football, you don't need a quarterback. And, maybe that made sense in 1985, but it certainly doesn't anymore. Yeah, I mean, you're right. People here will probably feel doomed until proven otherwise. But remember, we're a year removed from Mitch Trubisky playing in the Pro Bowl. I mean, they thought that Trubisky was going to be the guy. The fan base did, at least. And that's what made last year so interesting, was that crumbled before their eyes before week 8. Like, it was clear by midseason that whatever fans had hoped Mitch would be, he wasn't. And he never really dug himself out.
I mean, 17 touchdown passes from a starting quarterback? It's just stunning, actually, what little production they got. Patrick, why Foles, and especially why at the time that they did it? Because, we're a couple of yahoos in Southwest Florida. We knew Cam, Dalton, Jameis. I mean, we knew 2 out of these 3 at least. Teddy Bridgewater was going to be on the market, and Teddy came to Chicago last year and beat the tar out of him in a very efficient performance. I mean, why Foles? And at that price and giving up a 4th-round pick, why Nick Foles when this was the greatest veteran free agent quarterback class of all time?
He knows them and they trust him is the short answer. Nick Foles played for Matt Nagy when Nagy coached in Kansas City and in Philadelphia. He played for Bill Lazor, who's their new offensive coordinator, when they were in Philly. Do you remember that one Eagles team with Chip Kelly that was impossible to stop?
Yeah, and he was tremendous. 27-2 was his TD to interception ratio that year.
Yeah, and then everybody figured out how to stop them the next year. Yeah, they played together there. Juan Castillo, the Bears' offensive line coach, was on that Eagles coaching staff. He was actually their defensive coordinator at the time. John DeFilippo, who you guys know from his work with the Jaguars and elsewhere, was on the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl with Foles as the quarterback. There's familiarity across the board there, and the Bears will tell you that the coronavirus stuff did not push them in one direction or the next. But I will tell you that, if they're not going to have an off-season program, bringing in a quarterback that already knows the playbook and that knows what the coaches are looking for, I think is super important. And then if you are Matt Nagy here, and if you need somebody to trust, and that's what this comes down to, is they couldn't trust Trubisky, then bringing in somebody you already know, I think is a fairly logical leap. Now, are they getting value out of this? Absolutely not. I mean, they're paying him more money than they should after giving up a 4th-round pick. And when you look at what Jameis Winston got, when you look at what Andy Dalton got, it's almost criminal that Nick Foles is getting paid what he's getting paid. But that's their thought process there. And with Cam Newton, the Bears' problem with Cam Newton was no different than every other team's problem, which is until you can sit him down and poke and prod him with your doctors, you can't sign him or count on anything from him. And that's just not going to happen anytime soon, given the environment here.
Patrick, hope all is well and continues to stay well. Thanks so much for your time, and hopefully we can do this again whenever training camp is.
Yeah, whatever that may be, I'd be happy to. Thanks so much.
Patrick Finley covers the Bears and the NFL for the Chicago Sun-Times, a Naples Daily News alum, for those of you who remember Patrick. And you can follow Patrick on Twitter at Patrick Finley.
More sports news being announced seemingly by the hour, David. I told you this morning we started the show that if you wanted, some golf action, there is actually an event on the West Florida Tour today at the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club course in Sarasota. But it was announced 15 or so minutes ago by the PGA Tour that at the Seminole Golf Club, another spectacular club, if you ever get the chance to go, from what I've heard, because I don't get on places like this. But on May 17th, DJ and Rory taking on Ricky and Matt Wolf in a 2-man team skins match to raise money for COVID-19 relief efforts. No word on where it's going to be on, what network it's going to be on, but PGA Tour put that out about 15 minutes ago, saying DJ and Rory against Ricky and Matthew Wolf on May the 17th at the Seminole Golf Club.
There you have it.
Something to watch and bet on.
And then a week later is the expectation that that's when the Tiger, Phil, Peyton, and TB12 little soiree is going to take place. Patrick Finley joined us on the Goldberg Noon Abraham Law Firm hotline, goldberg-law.com. The good, the better, and the best as we wrap up what was a late starting but fast-moving edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
You're clear.
This is the Dan Patrick Show. When you move up from 30 to 26, that's not he fell into your lap. And here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say. This is before the Packers selected Jordan Love last night.
we haven't picked a skill player in the first round in the last 15 years, so that'd be kind of cool.
Well, you got your skill position player. He's called a quarterback.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Gotta go to Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease. 0 down, $149 per month.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
Down, $149 per month. Loaded luxurious Grand
What's going on?
0 down, $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand
Not me that time.
0 down, $269 per month.
3 more hours is what Ian's saying. Ian's saying, damn it, I get paid by the hour.
PSA test. 120 days and prepaid
alert
gas
system.
for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati.
And when they cleared it to go back, it fired your opener again. I don't know why, but I killed it right away.
42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles
My
per year.
God,
0
for
to
once,
7
it's
plus
not my
tax,
fault.
Tag, title, doc, and dealer fee. 0 security deposit with lender approval.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee,
I'm going to write that up, too, because they shouldn't do that.
Nope.
365 days a year.
No, it should not.
The river to Laco and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit TowboatUSCapeCoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the
Look, I feel sorry for anybody out of work. I do. And, I mean, it is it is interesting when I see these tweets from journalists that are being laid off. Hey, you need to subscribe to the paper. Hey, how about having something worth effing subscribing to? Don't blame me because I don't want to pick up a piece of shit paper that doesn't do anything anymore. That has no staff, no news, no anything.
Well, it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately. The company started cutting staff, which then led to people going, hey, I don't get what I normally get from this anymore, which caused people to stop paying for the product, and then it's just...
Well, it's like you said all along. They screwed up the online thing from the get-go.
Right. They thought that this was going to be like an extra thing, that we were always going to have the paper, and this whole internet thing is cute, and it'll be a secondary thing.
Yep.
Porn figured it out right away.
Pay.
Kind of like the coronavirus. Porn knew that the internet was the thing. Boom. Everybody else had to figure it out as they went along. And newspaper probably figured it out last.
That can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing.
Sean, you're right. He says, they want $10 an hour. You can't have a fee that's more than Disney Plus and expect people to subscribe. Couldn't be more right. Netflix is about as cheap as the newspaper. What do you get more out of?
Experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from
And David's right on it. If they would have just done it from the beginning, $2 a week, $1 a week, whatever it was.
Yep. If they had charged for it at the beginning, but once you, it's the same way with everything. Once you give away something for free, never mind do it for a long period of time, it is really difficult to then raise your hand and go, now it's going to be $5 a month.
Think about it. They shut Napster down. No one has a problem paying for Apple Music or the, Spotify.
Spotify.
You want to listen to commercials? Don't pay.
Things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's the good, the better, and the best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
For the good today, we go to Maryland, where I believe that Dean and Gregory Hines did what most of us would like to do if we had the means. See, Dean's a pilot, and he went out with his little plane for an afternoon flight over the Aberdeen area in Maryland and used the flight's path on his 194-mile flight to spell out blank COVID-19.
All righty then.
You could read it on FlightRadar24.com and FlightAware.com. It took about 2 hours to spell during an afternoon flight. He told reporters that he'd gotten a new compass on his airplane, wanted to check it out somehow, and it gave him an opportunity to express how I felt about the virus.
Yes, very Madonna-like there. He expressed himself.
Sorry, I thought that was fantastic. For the better, we go to Wisconsin, where I know many of you out there may own a business and you have struggled with getting any of the stimulus money that has been out there for those of us that have applied and not received a dime. One of the groups that struggled getting money was the strip club business because they weren't given the money based on the nature of their business. But U.S. District Judge Lynn Alderman in Wisconsin says strip clubs should be eligible to receive emergency loans just like everyone else.
In other words, business is business.
You're damn right it is. You're damn right it is.
If it's legal, I would think that would be the only qualifications. Number of employees and is it legal?
Right.
Not sure about all this other stuff on the survey here.
And finally, for the best, God, there's so many to choose from, but I'm going to go to Texas because I absolutely love this story. Verdi Montgomery is the principal of Wiley High School. Over the weekend, he spent over the last 2 weeks, he spent 80 hours over 12 days, drove 800 miles so he could go to the homes of all 612 students of the class of 2020. He made individual visits to every single graduate. Thought that during all of this going on, had a little drive-by for one of the grads in our neighborhood here on the weekend, and I have from the beginning felt just awful about all of these seniors in high school, probably more so than any other group during this, and good for you, Principal Montgomery. I think that will be remembered for many a day, and that is the good, the better, and the best. On today, may the 4th be with you. This still is 2020.
I was thinking about that a lot yesterday because yesterday was graduation at FGCU. And so obviously they had to do it virtually. And then I think there was even a problem with the site. At some point it got hacked into, which, my goodness. And so that was the first time, Mark, that I really started giving it a lot of thought. We've got my godson is graduating high school, was supposed to in a couple of weeks. Have a nephew who's going to graduate high school just north of Tampa, and the graduation was supposed to be in a month. So lately, I've been thinking a lot about that, and it's a big deal for families. Never mind the kids. It's a big deal for everybody. All the weddings, and so I have tried to block a lot of the negativity out, and just try to live. And this may surprise you, Mark, with me being much more of a glass half empty guy than a glass half full guy. I've always been the sarcastic cynic more than the, hopeful whatever. But I have tried to, and for the first 6 or so weeks, I think I did a pretty good job of living in la la land almost, just to take care of my business. But lately I have been thinking a lot about all the people affected by what we're going through here, and hoping that for some of you beginning today that this will be the beginning of a turnaround, and hoping also that we can stay safe during all this. I mean, I know we're at wit's end in most of the country outside of maybe the New York metropolitan area, and they're still scared blankless. But most everywhere else, we appear to be at wit's end. But the numbers went up over the weekend too, dramatically. All right, at least in terms of the deaths. So I hope, keep my fingers crossed, just hoping that we can do this, hoping this works.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody hoping that it doesn't work, you need to check yourself. What David and I now for a few weeks have been saying is tolerance is very important. Judgment, this is not the right time for it because everybody has a little different idea on what we should do going forward. It's provided for a lot of humor if you can maintain your sense of humor throughout this, and I've always been able to. And, I do things a little differently than what David's doing, and people are doing things a little differently than me, and I'm accepting of what his choices are. He's accepting of mine. And that's what we're just hoping for going forward because we don't know. And that was our poll question today. Florida's reopening. You're going to go out to dinner this week? 38% of you right now say that you are. Now the
that's 3 out of 8, though, if you think about it. I mean, that's 5 out of 8 that right now in our little sample is a no, but that's 3 out of 8 that are like, yeah, I'll go to a restaurant this week. Okay.
It's good for the restaurants.
Well, it is, obviously. Yeah. I'm curious as to those that are in that industry as to what they thought the percentage would be as they're driving into work, listening and what have you, wondering, wonder what the feeling is out there.
And all those restaurant workers are now putting themselves possibly in harm's way.
Yeah.
I mean, with every little bit of opening, remember that there are workers across from you when you go out that may not have the same views as you do and may be a little scared. So when you're at Publix, be nice. When you're at the restaurant, and it might take a little longer, and maybe in your vodka tonic, they put a lime instead of a lemon. Don't bitch. Drink the drink.
Hey, if it's been 7 weeks since you've had a vodka tonic, although based on alcohol sales, it hasn't, they're up over 40% in the country, but I'm with you. I will say, if you complain about service during the coronavirus, we need to take you outside.
We really do. I went yesterday. I've said I've gone to Naples Flatbread. It's my new pizza joint. But they have not only have their takeout, but they've allowed you to get a drink basically and wait outside. And so yesterday I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go get me a beer. I'm just gonna start this right now. I'm gonna leave right after I order. I'm gonna have a Miller Lite while I wait for my pizzas to get done. And there was a younger lady in there, and we were laughing because they had to give me the Miller Lite in a brown bag. And then I opened the brown bag, took the beer out, opened it. And the bartender's laughing. She goes, "This is how I've got to do it. This is what, okay." And the gal next to me is drinking out of what I thought she had a fountain soda. And she was having a mixed drink. They had to serve it in that. And she goes, "Yeah, I just heard the malls were open. I came up to shop. I worked at a racetrack. She works overnight. She was so excited to go out." She goes, "So they weren't open, so I had a couple drinks and taking food home now." But I mean, they're chomping at the bit to get out. And, take your time, be safe, and try to be as nice as you can to the people that are serving you because they could be more nervous than you could ever imagine. But obviously at this point, I'm guessing if you're in the industry, you need the money because you probably don't have much anymore.
Miller and Moulton in the sports world debating just what the governors and mayors and city councils are all debating around the country. The word is the NFL this week is going to release its schedule and that it's going to be normal with the exception of no international games, no London in 2020. That's the early word about the NFL schedule release. Mark, I did hear something. The U.S. Open tennis tournament is scheduled for August 31st through the first couple of weeks of September. There is talk they may have to move that sucker to A, November, and B, move it to California, move it to Indian Wells. Remember that tournament got canceled in March? They don't know if they're going to be able to pull off the U.S. Open tennis, which is interesting because 1 week later is supposed to be U.S. Open golf 30 miles to the north.
The Dan Patrick Show is next. We thank you so much for listening to Miller and Moulton on Fox Sports Radio. We stream every day on twitch.tv.
You're clear.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
All right, Ian.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep. No worries, buddy, man.
Yeah, don't worry
come on.
about it, Ian.
Seriously.
Honestly.
If you're going to lose sleep over this, man, don't.
Yeah,
Please.
don't.
Please don't. We don't give two blanks.
Yeah. Don't. We're fine.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Thanks for everything that